Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you all doing today? How are you all doing today? I am a little perturbed. I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated. Mad. Pick your synonym for angry. I'm that. I'm that one. Yesterday, as you know, I was really tired. And still, I am normal levels of tired today, but I was really tired yesterday. To the point where I didn't think I could do the show. So we had about 30 minutes dealing with super chats and stuff like that. That 30 minutes felt like 10 hours to me. And it was tough, man. So I pushed the show to today. And now I went to bed very promptly. Well, of course, then I woke up at 7 a.m. So now I'm awake all day, and so I'm tired from that, but that's okay. That's okay. I can be tired. That level of tired is normal. What happened to me yesterday was abnormal. Uncomfortable levels of tired. So yeah. That's not why I'm mad, though. That's just why today's show is the same as yesterday's show was supposed to be. We will be watching the Senate hearing on called Breaking the News, Censorship, Suppression, and the 2020 Election, where the Senate Judiciary Committee asks Jack and Zuck about their interference in the 2020 election. Damn. So, we'll be starting that. I don't know if we're going to finish that tonight, because it's like 2 hours long. So we'll see who we get through. Oh, good. The autofocus is going crazy. Get that fixed. Let's get that fixed. You know, when I want it to autofocus, it doesn't. Okay. We did talk about a couple things yesterday. Particularly of interest today is Wayne County, Michigan. Wayne County, Michigan. Where yesterday I reported erroneously, it seems, but then not erroneously, that the canvassing board in Wayne County refused to certify the Wayne County votes in Michigan yesterday. It was a 2-2 split. The two Republicans split with the two Democrats, and the Republicans refused to certify the election results. That was around 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and then about 9:15 Central Time, I think it was, that changed. After those people were doxxed and their families properly threatened by good Antifas, and not just, let's not limit this to Antifas, though. It wasn't just Antifas threatening the families of the Republican canvassers. It's not. It was the entirety of the Democrat political machine. It was Democrat politicians. It was social media. It was not just like a rogue group of face-masked morons. It was a whole bunch of awful people who bullied these two Republicans. Their address was shared on social media. Their children's names, I believe, were, at least one of them, their child's name was shared. Something like that. It was a mess. It was a mess. And then they they came to their senses and certified the results. And they said they held out and negotiated for an audit of the Wayne County results. That was, or at least the Detroit results or something. That was the compromise. But then today, in a stunning change, they rescinded their vote to certify. And they have affidavits about that rescinding their votes. There's a big problem. Can you rescind a vote to certify the election results? Probably not. Like, we're in such crazy territory. You can, Sakaki? Are you sure in Michigan that you can rescind the vote? We'll find out. We'll find out. A bunch of people are saying you can. Oh, sure, if it was under duress. Was it? I mean, they say it was. Was it? Here's an interesting thing about things being under duress. That is a legal conclusion. That is not just simply, well, it was under duress. I don't agree. That's a legal conclusion in contract law and in criminal law. So, because I can guarantee you, the majority of Wayne County suggests that they very much signed them and certified them. They were coerced, yeah. I agree they were coerced. I get it. It's under duress, in my opinion. Our opinions don't matter. God damn it. How many days are we going to go through this? Epic Ninja Shiro. Family doxxed and threatened by the people in the room, though. That's the question. Who's putting them under the duress? These aren't simple questions. If they were simple questions, we'd have resolved the election a long time ago. If you keep listening to people who tell you they're simple questions, you're going to think that everything is... It's not. Once you've got legal stuff involved, it's no longer simple. We'll have to see. Look, I hope that their votes are rescindable. I hope so. I don't think they should have certified them in the first place if they're uncomfortable with them. I mean, it's likely that the state of Michigan, Secretary of State, will certify them anyway. Because once it gets past the canvassing board, it goes to a statewide board, and they'll probably certify the results. But I hope that they're rescindable. Just don't color me rosy-eyed on any of this stuff. Because there's no reason to be rosy-eyed on any of this stuff. What I'm going to try and find, by the way, is I'm going to try and find Rudy Giuliani's amazing oral argument in front of the Pennsylvania District Court. That is something I really want to find and watch. I know people recorded it. I'm going to see if I can find a copy of it. Not for tonight. But I think that'll be a nice illustration of what was going on. Of what's going on in the actual court stuff. That'll be fun. So if you haven't heard, the Republicans have filed a motion to amend that Pennsylvania lawsuit again, because remember all the stuff that they said that they put that was in there? Remember, like, the lawyers wrote the article and criticized the Republicans for not putting the stuff in there about the whole giant, like all the votes. And Rudy Giuliani's like, well, I guess they didn't read paragraph 142 to 150. We read that 2 days ago or whatever. Well, after that oral argument that Rudy Giuliani did, Rudy ended up doing it, which was weird because I thought the radio host Mark Scaringi or whatever was going to do it. But Rudy actually came in and did that. And now they've motioned to amend their pleading to include stuff that was inadvertently left out. So after all the bluster from Rudy talking about not hiring the law firm that criticized them, or the journalists or whoever it was, they're actually amending the complaint to put it back in. I don't know if you remember, but when we covered it on the show, I said they should probably amend this complaint and put that back in. Because I get that they put it in their facts section, but it's not in their core claims. And it's a real weird thing that they didn't do it. Now they're doing it. Guys, they are fucking up all over the place. But they're running that hype game real hard on Twitter. Rudy Giuliani today, I heard him on Newsmax say that they won a huge victory in Nevada because they're not accepting the results of Clark County. But they are accepting the results of Clark County, just not on that one county commissioner seat. Tim Pool got this fucking wrong too. And it was in the goddamn thread that Tim Pool was reading. Everybody is so hyped on these damn lawsuits. But they're not reading the damn lawsuits. They're not reading the results. I'm waiting for a fucking kraken to come out of the water. Not finding one. Seems like Perseus is standing on the shore with like 10,000 Medusa heads just beating off waiting. So, to clarify, Clark County, the reason there was a problem with the one commissioner's race in Clark County, because again, it's in the very thread Tim Pool was reading, is because the difference between the two candidates was 10 votes. It was a 10-vote margin. That's what a 10-vote margin means. But the discrepancies on the ballots were 139 ballots. All right? So they threw out that race because 139 is more than 10. They're unresolvable discrepancies because it looks like some people voted twice and stuff like that. But 139 votes does not have any impact on the presidential election. It's like 0.8% or something like that. Or I think it's 0.08%. It's nothing in terms of how many vote margin Trump has lost Nevada based on the numbers that we have. So they're only not going to certify the results of the county commissioner's race, just the one. All of the rest of Clark County's results, including the presidential results, are currently on track to be fully certified. Rudy Giuliani's on Newsmax today saying this is a big victory for the Trump campaign and they're likely to get the results thrown out from Clark County. They're unlikely to get the results thrown out from Clark County. Wolvenar, he didn't explain it in the IRL podcast that I watched unless he came back and corrected it. Anyway, these guys are going to have to bring something real quick. Like I said, their Georgia suit is okay. Their Pennsylvania suit can be okay. Maybe Tim did another video on this. I shared it in my Discord and he was wrong on that video. So if he did another one and fixed it, great. I hope so. He didn't have to be a lawyer to get this one right. It was in the thread he was reading. All right. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Tim Pool's not the big issue here. I'm already getting itchy. I'm getting pissed. Rudy Giuliani's the big issue on this one. He's out being hype man. And then when he goes to court, he doesn't know what opacity is. He doesn't know what strict scrutiny is. Rudy Giuliani hasn't argued a case in 28 years. And that's who you send in? R.W. Bimby says, Blues then, you have to pass the law to later see what's in it. Blues now, you have to certify the election later to see what votes were in it. Yeah. And again, don't mistake me. I definitely want them to overturn the obvious fraud. I do. I want it to happen, but they have to do it. It's not up to us just calling it fraud. That doesn't work. Okay. All right. Let me tell you why I'm pissed off today, though, because this is nothing to do with the election. My pissed offedness has nothing to do with the election. A little while ago, the 6th of November to be precise, we're now 12 days ago, I bought some equipment from Best Buy. I bought an 85-inch TV. It's the first TV I've bought in 13 years, something like that. An 85-inch TV. Beautiful. Samsung Q90. I bought a mount for it and a power supply and I bought a Sonos Arc sound bar. All great stuff. I bought it all from Best Buy. I took the Arc home with me, which was nice, and then I bought they were going to deliver and install and mount on the wall the 85-inch TV because it's expensive. It's heavy. And it's expensive. And I didn't want to do it myself because if I drop it, I'm screwed. If they drop it, they have to fix it. Right? So, that was the idea. On the 6th. Now, then they told me that Monday, my TV would be installed. I got a phone call on Sunday night. 11 hours before my TV is supposed to arrive. And they say, the installer in your area is no longer available. So you have to wait till Friday. And they're like, is that cool? It's like, well, no, that's not cool. That's terrible. But if there's nothing I can do about it, then I guess I wait till Friday, right? So I wait till Friday, which is in 2 days. Mind you, but I get a phone call today. And they say, your appointment for Friday needs to be rescheduled. What now? So I call Best Buy and I sit on hold and look. I got no problem if you've got a thick accent. But why does every company staff their phones with people with thick accents? I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. You could put them anywhere in the company. You could hire people for all sorts of positions, but everybody on the phone has a thick accent. I don't get it at all. Why the hell is it like this? And these people aren't like in a different country. for the Best Buy tech support. I don't believe. I think they're actually here. Do they actually outsource like the Geek Squad support? Oh my Christ. No wonder. Okay. So anyway, we'll get we'll get there. So I'm on the phone. The first guy I get, I don't know what his name is. The second lady I get is named May. And so May is telling me to, that she's going to reschedule this thing. And I'm like, I don't want it rescheduled. I want it on Friday. What's wrong with my appointment? And so then she says, I'll look into it. So she comes back, is like, I'll reschedule it for Wednesday of next week, okay? And I said, no, that's not okay. What's wrong with Friday? So she puts me on hold again to look into it. Because she didn't the first time when she said she was going to. So then she puts me on hold and eventually comes back, like after 9 minutes, and tells me it's because a thing that I ordered was back ordered. And I said, what thing? And she reads me a model number. I said, I don't know what that is. What is that? What is that? It was the power strip, because I bought I have power strips all over my house, but it's like, I get a little power strip they can mount on the wall behind the TV. That'll be fine. Kind of conceal the cables. I just bought it while I was at Best Buy. It's not a particularly special power strip. It's just a regular, Mike Mysterio, a Panamax or whatever. It's just a regular one. And here's the best part. When I'm in the store, I said, should I just take the power strip with me? And the guy says, no. It'll be fine. You don't need to take that with you today. They'll just bring it with the TV. I'm like, cool. No big deal. Right? No fucking big deal. Because they have a million of these things and they're just going to bring it with the TV. Why would you take the tiny thing with you in your hands when you could just bring it with the TV? So I'm on the phone. Actually, I'm in my car, so I don't have the phone thing. And the lady tells me this, and I just start screaming at her. Like, you mean to tell me you're not delivering my TV because of a fucking power strip that I don't even want? I'd go to anywhere on the planet and buy a power strip. I'll hang it myself. I don't care about the power strip. Get my goddamn TV to my house on Friday, damn it! And so I'm yelling at this person. And she says she can't do it. She can't do it. And so I said, get me a manager. Get me a manager. And so I go full Karen, right? My hair poofs back, my bangs swoop over and grow. My hair goes some weird, sick combination of bleach blonde, gray, and dark roots. I'm managering out. Tampons are just flying out of my pants. I'm pissed at this point. I grab my mocha latte and I'm sipping it angrily. Ugh. So she puts me on hold. Puts me on hold. I sit on hold waiting for a manager for 30 minutes. Right? And by that time, I've gotten home. And I'm just waiting there. Just waiting. 30 minutes goes by. So then I go down to my office. Because I'm on my cell phone still. And I set my cell phone down with the hold music playing. And I go on my computer and I call the number again. I call the original number that I called. They transferred me to the Geek Squad support. I didn't want to talk to them anyway. But I call the original number and I get a different person. and I tell them my problem. They say, I'm gonna fix you. I ended up eventually hanging up on May because she told me she was switching me to a manager and no one ever came. Ever. So after 45 minutes of that, while I was talking to the other people, I just hung up. No purpose. So I get the other, oh my God, I'm itchy. Oh, I gotta get my fan on me. Whew. So I get the other person. They're like, I'm gonna help you. So they're helping me. I said, cancel the stupid power supply. I don't want it. Get me my TV on Friday. They cancel the power supply. Then they get cut off. So I call back and I get a person. And I'm like, I get a new person. I'm like, okay, get me the TV on Friday. And they're like, well, I don't know if I can do that, blah, blah, blah. I said, get me a manager. Puts me on hold. I get cut off. I call back and I get the person I had talked to before that person again. So I finally, and she's like, I don't know what happened. We're all working from home, so whatever. So, sorry about that. So she gets me back on the line. She's like, you don't have a Friday appointment right now. You don't have one at all. You don't have an appointment. The next appointment is Wednesday. That's the earliest I can do. I said, you get me that fucking appointment on Friday, or you can cancel the entire goddamn order, and I'll buy it from Amazon and hire a homeless guy to hang it on my wall. She says, oh, okay. Let me see what I can do. Can't do it. So I said, cancel it. Like, well, I don't want to cancel it. I said, I don't want to cancel it either. I want my damn TV on Monday, not next Wednesday. I want it days ago when it was supposed to come. Says, well, let me get a supervisor. Okay. So I wait. She comes back. There are no supervisors. They'll call you back in 24 to 48 hours. I said, oh, there's no supervisors working. They're not there. There's no supervisors at all. And she's like, yeah. I said, bullshit. I have never, ever worked in corporate America where there wasn't a supervisor working above me, except when I was the CEO of the company. That's the only time there hasn't been somebody more important than me working while I'm working. I don't believe you. It's business hours. Get a supervisor. She says, well, let me check. She leaves and comes back. And believe, I don't want to yell at this lady. She's actually been helpful. She comes back and she says, that's just the policy. They need to review your case. I said, what do they need to review? I'll tell them in 5 seconds what happened. She's like, look, I understand. I'm like, yeah, me too. Cancel the whole order. Oh, man, you really want to cancel the whole order? I said, I don't care if I never have a TV in my house again. Right now, Best Buy is never getting my money. You've had my money for weeks and my TV worth the money, and I don't have anything. That's theft anywhere else on the planet. So no, you don't get to have it. So cancel everything. And she says, well, what if I switched it to in-store pickup? I said, oh, okay, the closest Best Buy to me is over an hour away. So if you switch it to in-store pickup, you better knock money off of the TV. And she says, I can't. I said, well, then you're going to cancel the whole thing. And she says, this is not May, by the way. May is long dead to me. She's dead to me. I don't know what this chick's name is. She never said it. So I said, then cancel everything. She's like, well, hold on. Let me see if I can cancel, if I can knock money off. So she puts me on hold again. And she comes back. And she says, yeah, I can't knock money off. And I can't get a supervisor to knock money off. And I said, I already told you, cancel the order. I don't care. Just cancel everything. And she says, what if I gave you a gift card? I said, I don't want a gift card. I don't like you. I don't like your stupid company. I hate this. This is $4,500. right now that we're talking about. Like, most companies would be offering to, like, drive somebody out there or hire a contractor locally to do it. They'd be doing anything to keep the sale. Not Best Buy. No. So, long story short, it's $4,500 after tax, after the accessories, all that stuff. It's anyway. So I canceled everything. I canceled the order. It was great. And the best part, I guess, is they're going to send me a $200 gift card to Best Buy, which I didn't want. She's like, well, are you sure you don't want a gift card? I'm like, if you want to send me a gift card, go ahead. But I don't care. And she's like, well, you know, I don't know. You spent a lot of money. Well, not really, though, because it just canceled the whole order. I didn't spend anything. But yeah, so she's apparently sending me a $200 gift card. I am never going to see that gift card. I already know. I know it's never coming. But I canceled it. So I'm now in the market for an 85-inch TV. I wasn't in the market for an 85-inch TV because I had one coming, but I'm now back in the market for an 85-inch TV. I'm so fucking mad. Yeah, on Wednesday, if that TV shows up, it'll get mounted and I will never pay them. Oh, if they charge me a single fee, I'm doing a chargeback. I'm doing a chargeback on them. I will. If my money's not in my bank account tomorrow, I'm doing a chargeback on them. But so I'm super pissed about that. That was my day today. That was like 2.5 hours of time that was just chewed up. Just chewed up. I don't want a 72-inch Aquos. I want an 85-inch TV. The 85-inch fills the space that I have. Anyway. This is the shit I have to deal with in my life. It's so simple. It was a simple transaction. I give you money, you bring it up. A power supply, a power strip. I lost my damn mind. I lost my mind. Okay, Mega Mobas says, Nick, thank you for that laugh about Best Buy. I really needed that. 3 close family friends passed away this week. Damn. It's been really hard. Thank you so much for being you. I've been subscribed since March 20th of 2018. Well, thank you, Mega Mobas, for being a longtime viewer. Sorry to hear about your family, buddy. Sorry about that. Or family friends. Family friends. Bad Vibe says, Nick, go directly to Samsung's website. You can buy your TV directly. Might save. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. The good news is my cabinets got put in today. So now it's only 3 more weeks until 3 weeks-ish until my kitchen is done. Yay. Okay. Let's move on to the theme we've got. Oh wait, Anonymous. Anonymous over on Streamlabs. And we know anything with Anonymous is from me. Says, is this going to be another stream where we reach the obvious conclusion that the Senate Republicans are fangless and will do nothing? American politicians, Democrats are useless liars, and Republicans are just useless. Anonymous, that's why I suggested bringing whiskey and drinking every time you get depressed. Because that's what I'm gonna do. Check Discord. What am I? Why? Where in Discord? Yeah, I see you guys. Thank you. Thank you for the... God damn it. There it is. Thank you, Erby. Activated Karen Rekieta. Bakuryu says I should get a projector if price is not an issue. The problem with projectors is the room I'm in has a giant fan on the ceiling, and so that won't work. I can't put a projector there without removing the fan, and I don't want to do that. I saw that Samsung has some short throw 4K projectors, but I don't know how good they are. And I don't know, I'd have to get a screen for it. Siren Jag, they do not have the Q90T TV 85-inch for $1,500. They don't. Are those short throw laser projectors awesome? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna buy the biggest damn CRT TV ever. An 85-inch CRT TV. It'll take up my whole house. All right. Okay. Let's figure this out. Sakaki Onsai says, first it was Emma, then it was May. Which Pokemon trainer are you going to victimize next, Nikki? In Kermit voice. Best Buy minion, I'm going to shave your head and make you sing I'm a Little Teapot. Now where's my piggy? Disgusting. Disgusting. Okay. All right. Let's start this up. I've burned 30 minutes of time being angry. Now it's time, I guess, for this. I guess the good news though is since I took a drive today, I did pick up a copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So if you have not, and you like nerd shit, please subscribe to my Rekieta Media channel. I'll be going through and doing little short videos on Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, my thoughts on it. I'm going to be exploring various escapist activities on that channel in all sorts of ways. Nerd stuff, other stuff, just stuff to get away from the shit that we're doing on this channel, which is all the real depressing shit. Okay? So please check out my Rekieta Media channel. I did a short video making fun of Polygon reading about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Bell of Lost Souls also read about it. All of the common people. But we'll be doing little reviews of the content over there. Can I post it? Yeah, it's in the description, but I will also I'll throw it up in the chat. Just a second. I got you. Although I think it's just youtube.com/Rekieta Media, but here's the long link. If you want to just click on it, it's right there. It's not in the description? Son of a bitch. So here you go. And mods, please feel free to spread that around. Mananam. What is wrong with Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, according to whatchamacallit, Polygon, is that it doesn't eliminate racial differences. It tells you how to by just saying, do whatever the hell you want. Like, just make up your, you don't have to follow these rules or guidelines. It says that, but that's not enough. They want racial differences forced out of the game. No, I'm not kidding. They actually want to force everybody to not have racial differences rather than just saying, in your own table, you can do whatever you want. So. All right, we're going to start with Peg Leg Porker on this. Yes, Wayne County has apparently uncertified. I don't want a Q70T Jade O. I want the Q90T. Got a very bright room, and I need a shitload of lighting on it. Q90 has the super dynamic array or whatever crap that is. I don't know. Probably all marketing bullshit, but that's what I need. On day 4 of 30-day VLCD. What's a VLCD? Okay. Okay. Oh, Zacho3TO. Zacho3TO says, you're right. Lagavulin 16 years is a perfect solution to everything. Any news on Vic? He seems to be in high spirits. The only news on Vic is actually unfortunate news. His Detroit film forum has been canceled because it's in Detroit. It's in Michigan. Governor Whitmer has closed down Michigan again. So it has been canceled and will be rescheduled at some point. As far as Vic's case goes, no, there is no news. We're waiting for the court to issue their ruling. Yeah, it's COVID, the COVID related shutdown. So that's that. Okay, guys, here comes this hearing. And we're going to just kind of get going. It opens up with Lindsey Graham. And you are welcome to drink when the Republicans say something stupid too. Because I have a feeling there's that. Or when you doom pill on the Republicans not actually doing anything. Oh, and final thing before we get started. This is actually short. Mark Kern, you may know him as Grums on Twitter, will be on the show on Monday night. So Monday, Mark Kern. It's been a long time since he's been on the show. Love that guy. We're going to talk about the growing push for big tech censorship following the election. So Mark will be on to talk about that. Some more doom pills. Only doom and gloom. Go to the other channel for bright sunshiny shit. All right, here we go. There's a couple seconds of silence or of pointlessness before we get to. Oh, wait a minute. I better pause it because I'm on the wrong output. There we go. Okay. Sorry, this is on Periscope, which is the shittiest video service I've ever seen. Fuck you, Jack.
Hey, everybody. I think we have Senator Blumenthal remotely. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman.
Is it okay,
What?
Blumenthal, if we move forward?
Oh, there.
Absolutely. Thanks very much.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
I'll make a brief opening statement. And this is about censorship, suppression, and the 2020 election. Sort of a deep dive when it comes to Twitter and Facebook about the platforms and the decisions they make, how they make them. Can we do better? Do we need to do better? So the first thing I want to talk about here is health risk associated with social media. A 2018 Pew Research Center survey of nearly 750 13 to 17-year-olds found that 45% are online almost constantly, and 97% use social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat.
Oh, okay.
So why are we having this hearing?
Why?
The products that these two companies offer, people like and they use. So
I don't say
bottom
we
line
like
is
them.
They've probably been more successful than their wildest dreams.
They become fucking
And
necessary
they're
is the
having
problem.
to make decisions that offend people on the left and the right. And what we're trying to do is look at Section 230 and to see if it needs to be modified or changed, because Section 230 basically allows social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook to pass on information without legal liability.
They're supposed
If
to
a
be just
newspaper
passing
does
it on.
something you don't like, or you think they've slandered you in a certain way, you can sue them. If a news program does something that you think is out of line, even as a politician with a high bar, you can sue them. These companies have liability protection when it comes to the content that their users engage in. You can sue the person who gave the tweet, but you can't sue Twitter, who gave that person access to the world in terms of what they said. And we got to find a way to make sure that when Twitter and Facebook make a decision about what's reliable and what's not, what to keep up and what to take down, that there's transparency in the system. And I think Section 230
Hey, I got an idea. Don't take anything down unless it's illegal. Just don't. Just don't. Who cares if it's offensive or racist or whatever? Don't take anything down. Then you can have all the 230 protection you want. Only take down illegal stuff. Only take down cheese pizza or whatever. Nothing else. Nothing else. Because why would you? Andrew War Snowboard says, you said that was Richard Blumenthal, but I'm pretty sure that was the guy from the beginning of Half-Life 2. Did you also hear that Chuck Grassley has the coof? 87 years old. Oh, wow. I'm guessing he'll live through it.
has to be changed, because we can't get there from here without change. But in 2019, a study of more than 6,500 12 to 15-year-olds in the U.S. found that those who spent more than 3 hours a day using social media might be at heightened risk for mental health problems.
Start drinking
Another
now,
study,
immediately.
12,000 13 to 16-year-olds in England found that using social media more than 3 times a day predicated poor mental health.
How do you
predicted
use social
poor mental
media
health and
3
well-being in
times a
teens.
day? What does that
Other
even mean?
studies also have observed links between high levels of social media use, depression, or anxiety. The average millennial checks their phone 157
Joseph
times
Valencia, the hearts
daily.
are on
A
Periscope.
member of the Senate,
It's
I don't
from
know,
live
35.
viewers clicking, the
Social
like
media is
button.
designed to sustain users' attention with a mix of good user interface design and psychology, creating an addictive mix for
Did he say
users.
3 hours? I thought he
It's
said
called the
3
slot
times a
machine
day.
effect, a technique which utilizes a pull to refresh and scrolling mechanisms on news feeds similar to a slot machine.
Ah! Refreshing the page is not a slot machine! Ah! Oh, God damn it! Bad Vibe says, I would say not necessarily illegal, however, directly criminal acts, not civil illegality. No, I mean things that are illegal to post. Post criminal acts all you want. That's fine. That's just dumb. Don't post something that is illegal to distribute. Okay.
The like button, a feature to provide social validation through a positive feedback loop by measuring and comparing the number
Stop
of
reading
likes a
studies and
user's
get to the
content
questioning, funny man.
obtains. Gamifying social interactions, employing gamification to engage users and keep them coming back. For example,
Keep them
Streaks
coming.
is the one causing the most concern, and using elongating red lines to display the number of days since two users interacted. Guess what these technologies do is try to keep us engaged. The more we engage the technology, the more advertising benefit to the company.
Yes, that's how it works.
Business practice, maybe so. Does it create a health hazard?
No,
over time?
It doesn't.
Something to look
no,
at.
It's not.
Now, the
Stop
other
it.
aspect.
Stop it. They said the same
debate
thing with TV.
is,
They
are
said the
these
same thing
companies,
with
newspapers,
books,
or the TV
magazines,
stations,
comic books,
do they have the
everything, ever.
power of media organizations that have rules and regulations, and the current media platforms do not.
It looks like
There
someone
are rules
hydraulic
about what a
pressed his
television
eye
station
sockets
can
back
do.
into his skull.
There are rules about what a newspaper can do. And what I want to try to find out is, if you're not a newspaper at Twitter or Facebook, then why do you have editorial control over the New York Post?
Now we get to the real issue. Thank
They
you.
decided, and maybe for a good reason, I
I
don't
don't
know
know why he's talking about
that
the other
the New York
bullshit at
Post
all.
editor-
This is what matters.
articles about Hunter Biden needed to be flagged, excluded from distribution, or made hard to find. That, to me, seems like you're the ultimate editor. The editorial decision at the New York Post to run the story was overridden by Twitter and Facebook in different fashions to prevent its dissemination. Now, if that's not making...
They prevented dissemination because Jack wanted insemination. Synac8 says, poor me, I was actually in that type of service, but for Apple iPhones. Oh, God. People called and bitched at me for problems they made. Oh, I'm sorry your phone isn't responding, but you shouldn't swim with it, then put it in the oven. Listen, yeah, they're wrong, but I'm right, because I didn't do anything wrong. All I did was be nice until today. Until today. I didn't even complain that much on Monday. I just said, well, I mean, I guess if you have to reschedule it, I'm not happy, but you gotta do it. And then I found out why. Mithra Nemra says the senators should be required to either have the pages of or their grandkids doing the questioning instead of trying to boomer through it themselves. Just end 2:30 already. All right, here we go.
An editorial decision, I don't know what would be. It's one thing when we do it in our private lives.
Curio, there's nowhere else
Nikki
even
Haley
close.
made a post about her concerns.
That's the
about
problem. I would
mail-in
buy it from
balloting.
anywhere else.
It was flagged as something, a claim this hasn't been legitimized. Let me read it to you.
Okay,
The next question
thank
to
you.
ask is, why is it a crime to raise doubts about the Holocaust? Why should anyone who writes about such doubts be in prison while insulting the prophet is allowed? Now, that's the Ayatollah. He's opining.
Oh no! Oh no! Don't quote the Ayatollah. Well, I don't think the Ayatollah's claim about election fraud is disputed.
That raising doubts about the Holocaust
The Holocaust?
shouldn't be a crime, and he has openly called for the destruction of Israel. His
It
regime
shouldn't be a
has,
crime.
and his tweet
Speech shouldn't
was
be
basically
criminalized.
allowed to flourish. Here's what Nikki Haley said. Despite what the media tells us, election fraud does happen, and policies like balloting, harvesting, and mailing ballots to people who don't request them makes that easier. That needs to stop. This claim about election fraud is disputed. Well, that's her opinion. She believes, like I do, that mail-in balloting is ripe for fraud if you can't verify the signature.
She doesn't have
And
beliefs.
if we just send
Mr. Graham.
ballots out to the world that are not requested, and you don't have a signature verification system that can be trusted, you have in fact led to harvesting of ballots for nefarious purposes. The question for us as a country, at what point do the decisions by these organizations cross a line At what point do they have to assume responsibility that Section 230 shields them from?
Yeah, good
And
question. Let's get to
the
asking
people who are
them.
about to testify. I consider your products to have changed the world,
Okay.
mostly for the good. We're able to interact among ourselves. We're able to talk to each other and share.
Can we stop with this for the good, for the bad thing? It's just for the money. They changed the world for the money. It's fine. It's not good or bad. It's neutral. It's a neutral action. It has this weird fluffery that we do. Oh, you changed the world for the good. No, they didn't. I mean, they didn't. They just created something that makes money. And the world's change is something else. And it's not good or bad. It's neutral. It just is what the world is. Someone else said, yeah, Wagama says, it just is. Thank you. Weirdo with a cello says, I just got here and don't know anything, but what do you think of the idea that if you want to know if someone made something harmful, see if they let their kids use it? It's a good barometer. Nova Zero says, hey, Nick, do you reckon that watching conservatives at work is what will lose Republicans their new voters since they're so vapidly useless? I call upon thee to drink. Oh, I'll be drinking plenty. But yes.
Their life experiences. We're able to, in real time, communicate to our neighbors and our friends and those who oppose us.
I don't know if
what
they
we
run out of
think
law still or not.
with technology that just makes it instantaneous and can literally light up the world. Section 230 was developed to allow these technologies to flourish.
No, it was not.
Early on,
That is
if
not
you could
true
sue
at all.
Twitter or Facebook for content.
God
on a
damn it.
Facebook-
Okay, Lindsey Graham, Section 230 was not made to allow Twitter and Facebook to flourish. In 1996, when they passed Section 230, it was to allow GeoCities and Angel Fire to flourish. To allow online forums and billboards to flourish. Social media was a pretend glimmer in somebody's eye. I think Zuckerberg was barely born at the time. We're out here pretending that these people have, and well, we developed this legislation to allow these types of technologies to flourish. Nobody knew this was coming. Nobody knew this was coming.
Posting or a tweet, and they were liable for what somebody else said or what they felt or did, then the company would have probably never been in existence. The companies are trying to help us deal with child pornography. We have the Earn It Act that to be able to maintain liability protections when it comes to sexual exploitation of media
Lindsey
sites,
Graham just got
social
me
media
demonetized,
sites
fucker.
of sexual predators. This committee has passed a bill saying you can only maintain that liability protection if, in fact, you use best business practices. And that's where I think we need.
They're not best business practices. They're best government practices. I love how they code everything in language.
Need to be going. My hope is that we change Section 230 to incentivize social media platforms to come up with standards that are transparent and opaque that will allow us to make judgments about their judgments, that the fact checkers be known, that the community standards, who sets them, what are their biases,
Painful
and
buggery
give
now.
some direction to these companies because they have almost an impossible task. They're literally trying to engage in telling us what's reliable and what's not based on cable news commentary or tweets from politicians or average citizens. Nobody in a free society has ever had that responsibility before. And the question is, how do you control that responsibility?
It's pretty
I
simple.
don't
We're
want
going to
the
see Mark
government to
Zuckerberg's
take
face
over
and
the
we'll trust
job
that he can do
of
it.
telling America what tweets are legitimate and what are not. I don't want the government deciding what content to take up and put down. I
You
think we're
literally
all in that
do. You're talking
category.
about Section
But when you
230.
have companies that have the power of governments, have far more power than traditional media outlets, something has to give. And I'm hoping in this hearing today that we can find a baseline of agreement, that Section 230 needs to be changed, that my bias would be to allow the industry itself to develop best business practices to protect the sites against terrorism and child exploitation and other concerns, that we look at the business practices of these companies through a health prism, that some of their practices need to be modified because it can become addictive.
No!
You know, we thought
Stop
tobacco was
it!
a good thing for a long time, to the point that we sent it to our soldiers in combat. The more we realized about the addictive nature of tobacco, the more we changed our mind about telling the public about the product. So
you sent tobacco to your soldiers in combat because they were likely to die, and it helped calm nerves. The health impacts of tobacco were not on anybody's minds in Vietnam. Jesus Christ. No, you should not be looking at this from a health perspective. You will get it fucking wrong. You always do.
So whether or not we do that with social media platforms, that these platforms can be addictive if used too often, I don't know if we need to go there, but I do know that Section 230 exists today is got to give. And I think there's Republican and Democrat concern about the power that's being used by social media outlets to tell us what we can see and what we can't, what's true and what's not, to the extent that Section 230, in my view, has to be rewritten. So that's the purpose of this hearing, is to find a way forward to bring about change. And when it comes to social media platforms in Section 230, change is going to come. With that, Senator Blumenthal.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank
Sorry, we went from Moses to Methuselah. Fuck, look at that. Good Lord. You actually need Moses to part this guy's eyelids.
you for having this hearing today, and I look forward to cooperating with you, not only in this hearing, but in the upcoming Congress on our Earn It bill, on other measures, because you're absolutely right. Change must come to social media.
You will beg for Lindsey Graham to come back by the end of Dick Blumenthal's talk.
Unprecedented and precarious moment in American history. Daily, the president shocks our conscience and shakes the very foundations of our democracy using a powerful megaphone, social media. The president has used this megaphone to spread vicious falsehoods in an apparent attempt to overturn the will of voters.
Notice what's happening here? Thank you, Senator Graham, for creating this meeting where I will push for additional censorship from Twitter because Trump.
Every day he posts new threats and conspiracy theories about mail-in ballots and voting machines, lies that contradict his own election security officials and his lawyers. He uses this megaphone potentially to block a peaceful transition of power. Now, Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Dorsey, you have built terrifying tools of persuasion and manipulation with power far exceeding the robber barons of the last Gilded Age.
No, they don't. The robber barons of the last Gilded Age owned the people. They owned their homes. They owned the streets. They owned everything. They were corporate towns. No, they don't. They don't have that.
You have profited hugely by strip mining data about our private lives and promoting hate speech.
Strip mining is bad. I learned it in class.
You have an immense civic and moral responsibility to ensure these instruments of influence do not irreparably harm our country. I recognize the steps, they're really baby steps, that you've taken so far. The destructive, incendiary misinformation is
baby steps, not far enough. Not far enough. He wants them to go farther.
Still a scourge on both their platforms and on others. In fact, Google has been given a pass from today's hearing. It's been rewarded by this committee for its timidity, doing even less than you have done to live up to its responsibilities.
Good guy, Google.
Recent actions you have taken,
Our guy, one of us,
are simply to check the truth of what appears on platforms. Often it is voter suppression and incendiary, malicious misinformation, and you've tried to slow its insidious spread. That's not censorship. That's moral and civic responsibility.
Motherfucker! No, it isn't. It's censorship. It is censorship. Nick Sack says it's Blumenthal in Blumenthal Kermit hybrid voice. Marriage is what brings us together today. What? I don't know how to do this. Marriage is that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream. You should have just had me do it like the Princess Bride guy instead.
Now, I believe, and I hope the chairman agrees, that a series of hearings on big tech is long overdue on antitrust issues, on privacy concerns, and Section 230. I have urged, in fact, a breakup of tech giants because they've misused their bigness and power. Breaking off, for example, WhatsApp and Instagram. Rigorous privacy protection, because consumers should have control.
Why would we break off WhatsApp and Instagram from Facebook?
And indeed, Section 230 reform, meaningful reform, including even possible repeal in large part, because their immunity is way too broad, and victims of their harms deserve a day in court.
I thought he said a gay in court.
Not the serious proceeding that we need. It may become a political sideshow, a public tar and feathering. My colleagues seem to want to ignore the foreign disinformation campaigns intended to interfere in our democracy and calls for murder of FBI Director Wray and Dr. Fauci. What we've seen here are fighting words.
Does he have 200 lower teeth?
Speech that.
Look at all those lower teeth. Is that to better grind up the baby bones? Like, what is up with those fucking lower teeth? Bad Vibe says, really? So why isn't Hunter suing for defamation? Oh, right, because the evidence would come out. God, look at all those teeth.
Certainly deserve no free expression protection. The fact is that the purpose of today's hearing seems as much to bully or browbeat you, Mr. Zuckerberg and Mr. Dorsey, from taking even more responsible action by threatening cuts to Section 230. Censorship is really a misnomer for this hearing. What you've done is to label.
Look at how many teeth he has.
To avoid amplifying misinformation and to, in effect, impose those labels to alert people that what they are consuming may misinform them. And Facebook took down ads for Biden in Michigan and the ACLU in Colorado for mistaken information about voting. In short, there was action that affected both sides. I have fought for.
Look, Facebook took down 2 liberal ads. Therefore, it was both sides. There's 1,000 right-wing ads, but 2 left-wing ads. Therefore, there was action on both sides. Oh, fuck off. Oh, no, that's his gay in court face.
For Section 230 reform for 16 years. For my time.
Look at all those teeth.
As Connecticut's Attorney General, when I took on the scourge of registered sex offenders grooming children on Facebook and MySpace.
Now he supports them.
With Senator Portman, I have led passage of the only successful revision so far to Section 230 the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, known as SESTA, and Chairman Graham and I have authored the only bill to reform Section 230 that is actually moved out of a committee. This section, the Earn It Act, passed this committee unanimously. Change is going to come, no question. Change is on the way, and I intend to bring aggressive and targeted reform to Section 230. But I am not, nor should we be on this committee, interested in being a member of the speech police. There are
what?
Real harms and real victims here. And in some ways, this hearing is a betrayal of those real harms and the real victims of them. Those harms have been caused by big tech because you have failed your responsibility, as have others in this industry. I want to see real reform that will enable these abuses to be reformed, because your platform
He wants real reform to see the abuses reformed.
Weaponize child predators, violent white supremacists, and human traffickers. And I've heard heart-wrenching stories from.
It also empowers black supremacists, you fuck, and Mexican supremacists, and any other kind of supremacists you want. And yes, there's lots of them. God.
Victims. You've set back civil rights protections for Muslim Americans who live in fear of armed militias, organized by private online groups. You have set back consumers and competition, making that kind of antitrust action very, very important. The American public deserves and demands real reform and accountability, national consumer privacy rules, antitrust principles that curb predatory power, and reforms to Section 230 that stop shutting the courthouse door to victims. I look forward to an opportunity for real change, and I think you can meet this moment by putting your power and your money on the right side of history. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for nothing, Dick.
Well, thank you. Lot to unpack there. Senator Blumenthal's been great to work with. I'll continue to work with you.
No,
if we
stop!
keep control of the committee.
Stop working with him. Lindsey Graham, stop working with him. Fuck that guy. Seriously, did you hear him? Did you listen to a word he just said?
Senator Grassley would be the chairman next year, and I would encourage him to have the hearings that Senator Blumenthal referenced, that this is a ongoing conversation to get it right to the extent that we can get it right. Mr. Dorsey from Twitter, are you with us, Mr. Dorsey?
I am. You hear me?
Hold on. I just gotta make sure I'm not getting messages from Lady Rackets. Okay, by the way, we're going to talk a little bit in a second about how much Jack Dorsey looks like a homeless person. Or like a volunteer at a methadone clinic or whatever. But he sounds like a homeless person too. What's wrong with this guy? Bad Vibe says, this ashhole will be crying when the court decides to hammer social media for 2 standards of application of their rules. Maybe.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you to the members of the Judiciary Committee for the opportunity to speak with the American people about Twitter.
Imagine showing up to Congress looking like this.
And your concerns around censorship and suppression.
Why does he have fucking glass milk jars up on his... What is he doing? What does he do with his life?
Of a specific news article, and generally what we saw in the 2020 U.S. elections.
This man is a billionaire and he has IKEA shelves on the wall.
Conversation. We were called here today because of an enforcement decision we made against the New York Post based on a policy we created in 2018 to prevent Twitter from being used to spread hacked materials.
You've never used it like
This
this
resulted
before.
in us blocking people from sharing a New York Post article, publicly or privately. We made a quick interpretation, using no other evidence, that the materials in the article were obtained through hacking, and according to our policy, we blocked them from being spread. Upon further consideration, we admitted this action was wrong and corrected it within 24 hours.
No,
We
you
informed the
didn't.
New York
No, you did not correct it within 24 hours. New York Post was blocked for 2 weeks on Facebook or on Twitter. They were prevented from posting for 2 weeks, not 24 hours. You just stopped banning everybody else, you fucking liar. Voken Do Dinok says, ew, landfill Santa is not a good look.
New York Post of our air and policy update, and how to unlock their account by deleting the original violating tweet, which freed them to tweet the exact same content and news article again.
That's not how it's supposed to work. I don't care if they could retweet it 1,000 times. Don't force someone to bend the knee to undo the thing. Fuck you.
They chose not to, instead insisting we reverse our enforcement action.
Yes!
We did not have a practice around retroactively overturning prior enforcements. This incident demonstrated that we needed one, and so we created one we believe is fair and appropriate. I hope this
is actually... This is something... These fucking boomers don't understand anything, and this matters. This matters a lot, okay? Because when you get that notification about deleting your shit so you can get back on the platform, let me expose the lie. There's an appeal button. You can either delete your shit or you can appeal it. And if you appeal it, presumably there's a review. And if you pass the review with the appeal, your account is reinstated without you deleting the material. That's what they say, but that's not what they do. They lie. That is deceptive business practices. The idiots on the Senate don't understand this. They don't understand this because they don't know how to use the internet at all. But there's a big lie. He's lying right now. They either have a practice about this because they have to use the appeal process that they lay out, or they lie to every customer who gets suspended, which is a deceptive business practice and presumptively unlawful. But they're too dumb to call him out on it.
This illustrates the rationale behind our actions and demonstrates our ability to take feedback, admit mistakes, and make changes, all transparently to the public. We acknowledge there are still concerns around how we moderate content, and specifically our use of Section 230. 3 weeks ago, we proposed 3 solutions.
You don't have a use of Section 230.
And they all focus on services that decide to moderate or remove content. It could be expansions to Section 230, new legislative frameworks, or a commitment to industry-wide self-regulation best practices. Requiring 1, moderation process and practices to be published, 2, a straightforward process to appeal decisions, and 3, best efforts around algorithmic choice are suggestions to address the concerns we all have going forward.
Give me back my 30,000 follower account, you fucker!
And they're all achievable in short order. It's critical as we consider these solutions, we optimize for new startups and independent developers. Doing so ensures a level playing field that increases the probability of competing ideas to help solve problems going forward. We mustn't entrench the largest companies any further. Finally, before I close, I wanted to share some reflections on what we saw during the US presidential election. We focused on addressing attempts to undermine civic integrity, providing informative context, and product changes to encourage greater conversation. We updated our civic integrity policy to address misleading or disputed information that undermines confidence in the election, causes voter intimidation or suppression or confusion about how to vote, or misrepresents affiliation or election outcomes. More than a year ago, the public asked us to offer additional context to help make potentially misleading information more apparent.
No, we did not. No, we did not. The public did not do that. No, like 3 arslers did. Fuck you. Oh, you son of a bitch.
We did exactly that, applying labels to over 300,000 tweets from October 27th to November 11th.
300,000 tweets. He's going to say that represents a tiny amount of the total tweets. What he's not going to do is talk about how big the Twitter accounts were that they hit.
2.2% of all U.S. election-related tweets.
Fuck off.
We also changed how our product works in order to help increase context and encourage more thoughtful consideration before tweets are shared broadly. We're continuing to assess the impact of these product changes to inform our long-term roadmap. Well, thank you for the time. I look forward to a productive discussion focused on solutions.
Thank you, Ms. Dorsey. Mr. Zuckerberg.
Thank you, Chairman
Turning
Graham,
me down a
Ranking
slight
Member Blumenthal, and members of the committee.
Oh, God!
At last month's hearing, I spoke about the role internet platforms play in supporting democracy.
Just look at it. Just look into it. Even paused, it's looking at you. He's looking through you right now. He sees the back of your mind and the front. At the same time, he sees you in multiple dimensions of time, like in what the hell is that book? The Vonnegut book. God damn it, I can't think of it now. You know which one. You know which one. Look at him.
Keeping people safe and upholding fundamental values like free expression. People have deeply held beliefs about these issues and can reach very different conclusions about the right balance.
Slaughterhouse-5.
We try to do what's best for our community and the world, acknowledging that there are difficult trade-offs.
Notice Jack had to read. Jack had to read his speech. Mark Zuckerberg's speech is being fed to him through a USB port in his asshole. You're at a bar. This guy walks up, slaps yours and your girlfriend's ass. What you do? Bad vibes. Says, remember, folks, we got banned in the fight for Vic, yet certain beach blue-haired whales were temporarily suspended and allowed back on the platforms. Mithernemer says, if you are moderating content that is not illegal, you are acting as a publisher, not a platform. Publishers don't get 230 protection, period.
I believe that some of these trade-offs and decisions would be better made through a democratic process, and I look forward to discussing that today. But first, I want to update you on our efforts during the election. At Facebook, we took our responsibility to protect the integrity of this election very seriously. In 2016, we began to face new kinds of threats, and after years of preparation, we were ready to defend against them. We've built sophisticated systems to protect against election interference that combine artificial intelligence, significant human review, and partnerships with the intelligence community, law enforcement, and other tech platforms. We've taken down more than 100 networks of bad actors who are trying to coordinate and interfere globally. We established a network of independent fact checkers that covers more than 60 languages. We made political advertising.
If this man is reading a screen, which I think he might be, his eyes have little micro twitches, he's amazing. This guy's a computer.
More transparent on Facebook than anywhere else, and including TV, radio, and email. And we introduced new policies to combat voter suppression and misinformation.
It's like he put the screen that he's reading from a mile away, and he used his cybernetic telescoping eye lenses to read it so that the angle of movement while he reads lines over lines doesn't move his eyes at all, so you can't tell.
Still, the pandemic created new challenges. How to handle misinformation about COVID and voting by mail, how to prepare people for the reality that results would take time, and how to handle if someone prematurely declared victory or refused to accept the result.
Oh, you know what? The Microsoft Surface, the new Surface Pro and the Surface X or whatever, they have an AI thing that makes it so your eyes are always looking at the camera. I wonder if he's got that running. Like it lies. No matter where your eyes look, it makes it so your eyes are always looking at the camera. I wonder if that's what's going on, because his eyes are fucking unnatural right now.
So in September, we updated our policies again to reflect these realities of voting in 2020 and make sure that we were taking precautions given these unique circumstances. We worked with local election officials to remove false claims about polling conditions that might lead to voter suppression. We partnered with Reuters and the National Election Pool to provide reliable information about results. We attached voting information to posts by candidates on both sides and additional contexts to posts trying to delegitimize the outcome. We locked down new political ads in the week before the election to prevent misleading claims from spreading when they couldn't be rebutted.
Guys, in the Facebook group I moderate, they fact-checked a story about white people being born with tails. Come on. Fuck off.
We strengthened our enforcement against militias and conspiracy networks like QAnon to prevent them from using our platforms to organize violence or civil unrest. Altogether,
wait a minute. Is QAnon organizing violence and civil unrest now? Is that the new claim? Is the LARPing 4chan now organizing violence? When? When has that happened? The fucking Antifa is literally doing violence in the streets. Black Lives Matter, literally committing violence. QAnon, LARPing about having answers about presidential outcomes. I mean, come on.
I believe this was the largest election integrity effort by any private company in recent times. This is what people expect.
No, that's not integrity.
I'm glad that from what we've seen so far, our systems performed well. But
what we've seen so far, they're glad at the results of the election that they helped to engineer through their censorship, and they're happy about it.
Election interference remains an ongoing threat that will never fully be solved, so we continue to improve with each election. But our integrity work is really only half the story. We also ran an unprecedented civic engagement program to encourage people to take part in our democracy. We ran the largest voter information campaign in history. 140 million people visited our voting center, including more than 33 million on election day alone. We estimate that we helped more than 4.5 million people register to vote and helped states recruit 100,000 poll workers. This was done in a...
Did you now? Did you now? Facebook helped more than 4.5 million people register to vote. Why are you registering to vote through Facebook? That shouldn't be a thing that's legal at all. Not at all. Benjamin Myers says, Rekieta Law, I'm glad I never gave them a penny. Better dead than red. And rip out Jack's nose ring. I can't even say the rest, it seems, of not wanting these people. 5th try. Yeah, oh yeah, you got to be real careful. Google Super Chats. They censor you too.
Transparent and nonpartisan way is part of our ongoing commitment to supporting the civic process. And on top of these efforts by Facebook, my wife Priscilla and I personally donated $400 million to support election officials around the country in making sure that they had the infrastructure they needed to enable everyone to vote safely during this pandemic.
Can we get a list of where's Zuckerberg and Priscilla Zuckerberg donated their $400 million? Can we find out what was it, like Wayne County? Where was it? Where was it? Mither and Emmer says, about those fact checkers, Zuck. Who fact checks the fact checkers? Again, with your own words, you're describing activities engaged in by a publisher, not a platform. Bad Vibe says, notice what he hasn't said. Opening debate and discussions on the policies regarding of ideology.
In my last testimony, I said that people would judge us by our performance during this election. Now, I believe that the full story is not only how we handled bad behavior on our platforms, but also how we encouraged civic engagement more broadly.
Piss off!
I'm proud of the work we've done to support our democracy, and I look forward to discussing this. I also welcome the opportunity to discuss internet regulation. I believe we are well overdue to update the rules for the internet around content, elections, privacy, and data portability.
Are you ready for the real black pill on this, by the way, guys? They want the regulation. Zuckerberg and Jack want the regulation because they can afford to follow it. They want it. They love it. The regulation helps them. Parler and Gab exist now. Wait till Parler and Gab can't exist because they can't meet the initial regulatory burden. Why do you think pharmaceutical companies are the way they are?
There are important questions here, including who should be responsible for what people say online. For any system to work, I believe there needs to be a transparent process that people feel they can trust. And this will be difficult, especially since our country is so divided, but
It's not difficult to make the process transparent. This is the weirdest thing. And everybody does this. Everybody acts like it's like transparency is hard. Transparency is easy. When someone gets booted off the platform, you make a list. This person was booted. Here's why. Here's the decision process. Here's the review. And you just get it. That's not hard at all. That is a simple thing to do. And you don't put it behind a vague thing. You just put access to the tweet. If there's child pornography in it, you fucking blur it out. So this is child pornography that they posted, so we can't show you here. But you can see the rest of the tweet. And here's the blurred version of the image and how we made the determination, what level of people were involved in it. It's really simple. You don't even have to give names. You say, this was caught by our algorithm. It was reviewed by review team number 1, which consists of 4 people. It was escalated to the management team for verification, and then the decision was made. When the appeal came in, it was reviewed by this appeal person, and a permanent flag was added to the account, and it can never come back for a permanent violation of the policy. Done. Transparency. Simple. Transparency is easy. Obfuscation is hard.
I believe it's the only way to address these issues for the long term. The challenges that we face are deeper than any one platform.
Bad Vibe says they can also afford to break
social equities that we all care about, like free expression, public safety, and privacy. This is why I believe we would benefit from clearer guidance from elected officials, and I look forward to discussing this today.
Why do you need guidance? Why do you need help from elected? Show of hands, who woke up this morning and said, I need to know how to behave in my profession? I need guidance from a senator. Who did that? I'll wait. Benjamin Meyer says they and theirs need the copper and rapid onset lead poisoning pill at this point. I'm so sick of this commie crap. Who said I need the government to tell me how to behave?
Well, thank you both. We'll have one round and 7 minutes, but I'll, as always, try to be a little bit liberal with the time because it's a very important topic.
Lindsey Graham admits he's a liberal.
Let's just get right into it. Mr. Dorsey, you can go first, then Mr. Zuckerberg. When you heard Senator Blumenthal's opening statement and mine, what did you get from it?
Well,
Just admit you weren't listening,
I think
Jack.
you pointed out that we are facing something that feels impossible. We are required to help increase the health of the public conversation, while at the same time ensuring.
Notice what he did there to Lindsey Graham. He just turned back Lindsey Graham's questions about if there is a health impact of social media to we're required to consider the health of the public. You're not. You're not actually required to consider the health of the public. I don't want you to. You are not qualified to consider the health of the public. Nothing you say about the public health is important at all. You, look at you, have no business telling anybody about anything health related at all.
Ensuring that as many people as possible can participate. And in order to do so, we need to make policies so that people feel safe and they feel free to express themselves, to minimize threats of abuse, of harassment, of misleading information, of
I called a guy a mutant. That wasn't abuse. It was a joke.
organized campaigns to artificially amplify or influence a particular conversation. And that policy creation, that enforcement is challenging, but also it is more or less opaque to the public. And that's where I think we have a gap. We have transparency.
Can you send, Jack, can you send to Rudy Giuliani the definition of opaque and opacity, please? He might need it.
Transparency around our policies. We do not have transparency around how we operate content moderation, the rationale behind it, the reasoning. And as we look forward, we have more and more of our decisions, of our operations, moving to algorithms, which have a difficult time explaining why they make decisions, bringing transparency.
You know why they have a difficult time explaining why the algorithms make decisions? Because, like, not to be ridiculous, but they're fucking building Skynet, right? It's just that Skynet doesn't build robots and murder us all. It just censors our speech. They don't know. They actually don't know. And if we get to it, which we probably, I don't know if we will today, but when Ted Cruz asked him, look, if I make this tweet, are you going to censor it? And he says, I don't know. They don't know what the algorithm's going to do. It's the algorithm. It's an AI. They have the wrong person on the hill. They need the algorithm to answer the questions.
Around those decisions. And that is why we believe that we should have more choice in how these algorithms are applied to our content, whether we use them at all, so we can turn them on or off.
Turn them
have
off.
Clarity around the outcomes that they are projecting and how they affect our experience.
Thank you. Mr. Zuckerberg, very quickly, please. What did you hear?
Senator, I heard that there are issues around content moderation, as well as other areas. And frankly, I'm optimistic from the statements that we may be able to move forward and hopefully update some of the rules for the internet around these areas. I've been encouraging and hoping that we would do this for a couple of years. And from your opening statements, it sounds like there may be now enough common ground on views that real progress can be made here.
So from my point of view, the question for us is, when it comes time to flag content as being reliable or not reliable, do either one of you believe that the government should do that? Is that a solution where the government sets a regulatory scheme that talks about what should be up and what should be down?
I don't believe so. I think that would be very challenging.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Mr. Zuckerberg?
It'd be very challenging for the government to do it, but not for Jack, though.
Senator, for certain types of illegal content, I think it may be appropriate for there to be clear rules around that. But outside of clear harms, including things like child exploitation in areas like that, terrorism, I would agree with your sentiment that that's not something that government should be deciding on a piece of content by piece of content basis.
So if we take the government out of the picture, at least in non-criminal areas, should we leave it up to the industry to come up with best business practices in terms of how to moderate content?
I think that's best. I think we need to align around the problem that we're trying to solve. And there are many solutions to solving those problems.
This is a classic trap. I don't know if Lindsey Graham is playing it this way, but getting them to say, okay, does the government need to step in at all? Well, no, the industry can do it. Okay, then you don't need 230 protection ever. There you go. You don't need it.
But I think we also have to focus our efforts on what is going to have the greatest impact. And we believe that the greatest impact is going to be found in how we deal with algorithms, how we use those algorithms, because they are responsible for showing us what we see or what we don't see. And there needs to be more choice in their use.
Do you agree
You
with that, Mr.
control them!
Senator, I think that that there is a role for regulation in the process, even if not defining on a piece of content by piece of content basis. And one of the areas that I've advocated for is regulation around transparency that goes beyond just about what the policies are and what the process is, but also goes towards results. And as an example of this, every quarter, Facebook releases a community standards enforcement report. It's basically a transparency report that breaks down each category of potentially harmful content that we track, ranging from terrorism to child exploitation content to incitement of violence to pornography to intellectual property violations.
Yes, if I may, I don't mean to interrupt, but who sets those community standards? How are they set by the company?
Senator, we have a policy team that consults with a number of different stakeholders and outside groups to make sure that we're getting feedback from broad swaths of our community covering all of the concerns.
Is that publicly known?
This robot has more money than the GDP of most African countries. I just want to remind everybody of that. Floofy Cat says, this is what, the 35th hearing on this? Not a thing is going to happen. Rhino Lindsey is the John McCain of the East. McCain gave the thumbs down to Obamacare repeal. Graham fist humps Kamala.
Senator, I believe so. And our head of content policy has testified publicly multiple times.
Okay. So when it comes to fact checking, would you give us a list of the people you use to fact check?
Senator, yes. We work with a number of independent organizations that are accredited by the Poynter Institute, and they.
What the fuck is the Poynter Institute? What is this? Poynter Institute for Media Studies is a nonprofit journalism school and research organization located in St. Petersburg, Florida. The school is the owner of the Tampa Bay Times newspaper and the International Fact-Checking Network and operates PolitiFact. Since 2015, the Poynter Medal for Lifetime Achievement in Journalism has been awarded by the Poynter Institute. Winners include Bob Schaefer of CBS Face the Nation, Tom Brokaw of NBC Nightly News, Judy Woodruff of PBS NewsHour, Lester Holt, anchor of NBC Nightly News and Dateline NBC, Katie Couric, and Chris Wallace, anchor of Fox News Sunday. So that is the Poynter Institute for Media Studies. They are the ones choosing the fact checkers. So there you go. It's Poynter if you want to look him up yourself. Bad Vibe says, in this case, these hearings are a good basis for the argument that government is giving unregulated consent to act on government's behalf and may open the door to calls for constitutional legal challenges. We'll see.
Include Reuters, the Associated Press, Agence France Presse United States, USA Today, factcheck.org, Science Feedback, PolitiFact, Check Your Fact, Lead Stories, and The Dispatch in the United States.
What about
I think
Snopes?
it's important for the public to know who sets community standards, how they're set, who does the fact checking, who you rely upon to do that. I think that would go a long way to people having a better understanding of the decisions you make. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you believe your product can be addictive?
Senator, we certainly do not design the product in that way. We design the product to be as useful and meaningful as possible.
That's not my question.
We take steps.
My question is that there seems to be an ample body of growing medical evidence that social media sites have an addictive nature to them. Do
Stop
you
it.
agree with that?
Senator, I don't think the research has been conclusive, but it is an area that we care about and study. We certainly do not want our products to be addictive.
Yes, what? Why? Why are you lying? Why? Of course want them to be addictive. The whole thing is intended to be addictive. Of course it is. Why do we pretend? Why can't people just be honest? You know what? I want this show to be addictive. When I miss a show or if I die, I want you to go through heroin withdrawal. I want you stuck here every single night because you can't look away. I want addiction. I want you to inject me hot Rekieta law right into your veins or anus. Your choice. Pick one. I want you to be addicted. Fuck everything else. Do studies on it. Get that Rekieta law inside you hard. Why? Why are we lying? Of course Facebook wants that. Of course YouTube wants it. Of course Twitter wants it. Jesus Christ.
If we want people to use them because they are meaningful. And we take steps to make sure that this is the case. So for example, we don't give the team that's running newsfeed a goal around how much time people spend on our products, which goes counter to a lot of the memes and misinformation out there around how we operate. But my goal is to help people connect and find content and interactions that are going to be meaningful to them on our service. And our view is that if that's what we deliver over the long term and people find the services useful, then they'll use them more. But I don't think that companies should be optimizing to just encourage people to spend as much time as possible on them.
Well, time's about up.
Literally
have you seen the
just
movie
said
Social Dilemma.
Senator, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, have you seen it, Mr. Dorsey?
No, I have not.
Jack was busy masturbating.
I would encourage both of you to see it. So here's what I think we're going to do on the committee over time, I hope, is to ask the question more directly, are these social media sites addictive? Do they have a public health component that needs to be addressed?
Yes and
For
no,
years,
respectively.
we thought tobacco was a great thing. We found out tobacco was not such a great thing. The medical
Nobody thought tobacco was a
science
great
around
thing.
these websites are becoming very concerning to me, particularly among children, and that you can manipulate how many times you watch. And you can set these media sites up so that people will constantly interact. So to both of you, I appreciate coming before the committee.
If you put two people in a room, they might constantly interact too. Ban rooms. Jesus.
We've got a long way to go. I don't think the government needs to regulate what we think or what we say, but we've got to up our game here. And I'll end with this last question. Do both of you support change to 230, reform of Section 230?
Senator, I do.
Mr. Dorsey?
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Blumenthal?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Before Dickie talks, real quick, I just want to point out, again, the dark secret here that Republicans and conservatives are playing into, self-included. I want reforms to 230. But who's writing the reforms? Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg will provide the experts to advise Congress on how to revise 230. They want it done. Both of them want it. That's what they want. They want this.
Let me bring
God!
this
Oh,
down
stop!
to
Stop
very
existing.
practical terms. We're in the middle of another election. This election in Georgia could determine, in fact, which party controls the United States Senate.
And Dick really, really wants, he really wants Facebook and Twitter's help again on fixing that. Nova Zero says, Mr. Zuck, is the fact-checking measures you've opted for a government requirement? No. Then isn't that beyond the scope of what Section 230? Shouldn't we stop providing you protection for? Is that so hard?
I'm concerned that both of your companies are in fact backsliding or retrenching, that you are failing to take action against dangerous disinformation, exactly the same kind of voter suppression tactics that existed in the last election, and that you are, in fact,
Voter suppression prevention is the government's job, not Facebook's, not Twitter's.
reducing content modification.
Now, more people voted in this election than literally ever, and he's talking about vote. These people are talking about voter suppression when more people voted than ever.
The fighting words and hate speech in the last election could inflame violence and send poll workers into hiding, discourage people from coming to the polls. We have to expect the same kinds of malign tactics. In fact, they are already visible, and I'm going to ask, Mr. Chairman, that these posts and tweets be entered into the record.
See that Parkinson's?
If there's no objection, that are aimed at delegitimizing the election in January. My question to you is, will you commit to the same kind of robust content modification playbook in this coming election, including fact-checking, labeling, reducing the spread of misinformation, and other steps, even for politicians in the runoff elections ahead?
Was there a question?
Senator, our policy is to have a similar approach in the upcoming Georgia special elections that we took during the general election.
Oh, good.
Mr. Dorsey?
Rigged for
Yes,
the Democrats.
we do.
Got it.
We intend to learn from all of our experience with this election and bring all that learning going forward to make it more robust.
During the past election, there was rampant disinformation on.
Wait till that runoff happens and the Democrats win by like 15, 20-point margins. It'll be great.
Social media in Spanish speaking sites, repeating QAnon conspiracies and false claims of election rigging. In my view, you need to do better. Will you commit to taking steps to improve content modification for Spanish-speaking communities?
Modification. Notice he didn't say moderation. He said modification. This is what he wants.
Before the Georgia runoff.
Senator, this is something that we are already working on and worked on ahead of the general election. We have multiple fact checkers who focus on the Spanish as a language, and we made sure that we translated our voter information center into Spanish, which we showed at the top of Facebook and Instagram to everyone who uses those products in Spanish in the U.S. Those are a couple of the steps that we've taken, and we're certainly committed to focusing on this.
And yes, we will, in partnership with Latinx civil rights groups.
Latinx!
I'd like to know,
oh, thank God.
And perhaps you could submit to me
Glad he
within
didn't say
1 week
Latino.
what additional steps you're going to take, because this Georgia runoff is underway. And as I've indicated, I've seen a backsliding and retrenchment that is very deeply troubling, that have enabled the spread of this disinformation, the restarting of certain algorithms, for example, that promote or amplify misinformation is very, very troubling. And I think I want to know within a week what additional steps you're taking to enhance the efforts to stop this kind of amplification and spread. Let me ask about Facebook community standards, which ban language that, quote, incites.
Bad Vibe says addiction is not a monolithic concept. Anything can be addictive. Habits are individually managed. And he also says, reminder, misinformation is not a crime. If it were, then I couldn't say Nick is Batboy's adopted brother.
Or facilitates serious violence. As you know, on November 5th, Steve Bannon, in a Facebook Live video, called for beheadings of Dr. Fauci and FBI Director Wray for not acting more favorably toward President Trump.
By the way, that is legal and always has been.
Twitter banned Bannon for these remarks. You removed the video, Mr. Zuckerberg, but on Thursday, you reportedly told Facebook employees that Bannon had not violated enough policies that he should be banned from Facebook. My question to you is, how many times has Steve Bannon allowed the call for the murder of government officials before Facebook suspends his account?
Read Brandenburg versus Ohio, you crypt-keeping motherfucker. You were 18,000 years old when it was decided already. Look at you. Oh, look at your ugly fucking face. Read Brandenburg versus Ohio. There was no imminent threat of violence. He wasn't inciting anyone. He was probably speaking hyperbolically, and we're allowed to do that. I'd do it right now, except YouTube would ban me because of fucks like you.
Senator, as you say, the content in question did violate our policies and we took it down. Having a content violation does not automatically mean your account gets taken down, and the number of strikes varies depending on the type of offense. So if people are posting terrorist content or child exploitation content, then the first time that they do it, then we will take down their account. For other things, it's multiple. I'd be happy to follow up afterwards. We try not to disclose these.
Down his account?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Will you commit to taking down that account, Steve Bannon's account?
Holy Christ! Are you serious? Like, I don't like Steve Bannon. I don't care about that guy. But fuck me. A sitting senator calling for the censorship of a private citizen. Holy shit. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I'm dumbstruck by this. Benjamin Myers says, known to the state of cancer for the cause of California.
Senator, no, that's not what our policies would suggest that we should do.
Thank you for one good thing you've said so
case.
far, you robot.
According to the internal records that are on the record now, leaked by NBC News, Facebook has removed fact checks and forgiven infractions for conservative pages and pundits such as Breitbart, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, and Gateway Pundit, based on a fear of accusations of bias.
Yes.
Has Facebook avoided penalizing or fact-checking conservative pages that had violated its policies based on concerns of political bias and allegations of bias?
No, they don't have to have... Nobody is concerned that Facebook is biased against liberals. Literally 0 people think that Facebook is not favorable to liberals. So no, he can't reasonably answer this question in the affirmative.
Senator, no, we haven't done that. And I think that those reports mischaracterize the actions that we take. I'm not aware of any instance where we have overturned a fact check specifically. And certainly no action like that would be taken for the reasons that you're saying. What we do sometimes is apply some judgment on whether the repeat offender policies would render too harsh of a penalty, but that's different from overturning a specific fact check, and is not done for the reasons that you said.
Well, I'm very concerned that, in fact, Facebook seems to have a record of making accommodations and caving to conservative pressure. And
When you moderate conservatives more heavily than liberals, then yes, when you roll back those decisions in any way, it will look biased towards the conservatives. But when your overall moderation is weighted, say, 70-30 in favor of liberals, meaning more harsh against conservatives, what the fuck is the mic doing? The mic is... Okay, there we go. Is this better? Let me know if this is better. Wrong mic? Jesus fuck. Just a second. Where the fuck did my mic go? Oh my goodness. I know it's still broken. Just a minute. It's like my my receiver just went out. In the middle of everything. No, it's going through my webcam right now. This is great. Here we go. Okay. Okay. We should be back now. There we are. I don't know what happened. I'll have to look into it. I think my Focusrite 2i2 is on the fritz.
The president has tried to use an executive order on Section 230 to again bully or browbeat and exert pressure on you and others in this industry.
Oh, just eat a fucking... I can't even say it. Eat a freight train, you piece of shit. By the way, I need to grift now for a new mic interface. Please consider donating to my OnlyFans.
In effect, working the refs, and they're winning. Let me ask you about antitrust issues. In 2013, Facebook bought Onavo, which is a virtual private records network that claimed to protect users' privacy. In fact,
all chats must have $1 for every tooth that Dick Blumenthal has from now on. $1, one tooth. I'm going to be rich.
Onavo's access to private information about its users provided Facebook with unparalleled ability to track potential competition. I want to know whether Facebook used data from Onavo.
No
when
one
it
can
decided
afford
to
that
purchase
angry gaming dad.
WhatsApp in
No one can.
2014.
Senator, I believe that data from Onavo was one of the sources that the team looked at, but I don't think it would have taken using Onavo to understand that WhatsApp was a great product. And I don't think that was determinative in my decision to pursue that.
Well, in fact, the House antitrust report says Onavo data was used to determine whether WhatsApp was, quote, killing Facebook Messenger, end quote. My time has almost expired, but
we could
let me
only
just say
hope your
finally
time would
that,
expire, you fucking corpse.
Antitrust action by the Federal Trade Commission is long overdue. I believe that decisive action is necessary, including very likely breaking up Facebook as a remedy. All options ought to be on the table, including divestment of Instagram.
Let's be honest here. As much as I hate Zuckerberg and I really hate Facebook, because Facebook has the function of actually tearing close people apart. Like Twitter is fine. You can shit on people on Twitter. You don't know them. Who cares? Facebook is different. It distributes content to people you know. And political seasons on Facebook are a nightmare. It's why I don't use it. I don't want to fight with my family and friends over stuff that ultimately isn't all that important to my relationship with them. So I don't like Facebook for that reason. But Facebook's trust issues are the farthest things from my mind in online social media issues. Like Facebook owning WhatsApp and Instagram, I could give a shit less about that. That is the lowest totem pole social media issue I can think of. Twitter's and Facebook's content moderation policies are way more problematic and devastating. As we saw with this election, they're way more dangerous than just the mere fact that Facebook owns Instagram and WhatsApp. Google's trust issues and Apple's trust issues are way beyond Facebook's, and I'm not even sure that they're that big of a deal. This guy, God, he was born in 1804, and he grew up to be a ripe young vampire right when trust was a big deal in the 1920s, and you can tell.
Instagram and WhatsApp, the FTC ought to impose strict conditions on how Facebook uses consumer data and competes with rivals, because the abuse of competition must end. Mr. Chairman, I asked that 3 letters from civil rights groups regarding disinformation and hate speech.
Oh, thank
Twitter,
God,
Facebook,
civil
and
rights
YouTube,
groups.
And also a letter from a coalition of children's protection advocates on the Earn It Act and child sexual abuse material on digital platforms be entered into the record. Thank you both for being here today.
Without
Thank you, Mr.
objection, Senator Cornyn.
Real quick before Cornyn, Bad Vibe says, wait, so who's fact-checking NBC on the Facebook fact-check article? Because the Target just said fake news. Yeah. Oh, God.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well,
Look at John
I'm glad to
Cornyn.
hear both of our witnesses today say that Section 230, that they are open to reform, because I think it's fair to say the internet has outgrown Section 230. And
Yes,
while we've made
it
some
has.
modifications when it comes to terrorism and when it comes to child exploitation, I think there's more to do. But I think the question is going to be how this regulation is going to come to pass. I know there's some, including on this committee, who suggest that maybe we ought to create a private right of action so that individuals can sue over claims of violated rights on your platforms. I think that's one form of regulation. It's called regulation by litigation, but it's certainly not my first choice, and it's not optimal. And I don't think it's something we ought to be embracing in the first instance. But I do think it's critical that each of you and your counterparts work with us to try to come up with something that will address the concerns. And the basic concern I have is it's hard to know exactly how to classify your business model. It's we have a provision in the Bill of Rights protecting freedom of the press, but yet here, while we would never let the government regulate what the press writes or doesn't write, essentially we are allowing private companies, which are now de facto public forums, to regulate that speech. And I'm no more comfortable delegating those decisions to you than I am delegating to you my vote in the last or upcoming elections. You know, Louis Brandeis famously said that the solution for bad speech is not less speech, it's more speech.
Yes.
And it seems to me like the practices that you are engaging in to tag, remove, and otherwise censor speech on your platforms violates that principle. And I'd like to know why that shouldn't be a better approach by allowing more speech rather than censoring what is perceived as bad speech. And then, as I think I've discussed with you, Mr. Zuckerberg, I think we're all sort of struggling to come up with what the appropriate analogy is.
I boosted him a bit. I hope that helped.
We know as newspapers have become less profitable and many of them gone out of business, there's been consolidation in the news media. There is a proliferation of cable TV shows and people being able to get information through a variety of sources, but there's no Walter Cronkite or the big TV networks that with the trusted anchor person who people have confidence in, that they will shoot with them straight. And so I know it's a very difficult thing to manage, but I would just encourage both of you not to wait for the lawsuits. We saw what happened to Microsoft. I think Bill Gates said that was one of his biggest mistakes, failing to engage with some of the antitrust concerns when it came to Microsoft, and he learned that the hard way. And I think there is a better way for the American people, and that's if we work on this together. Mr. Zuckerberg, I believe that Facebook publishes on a quarterly basis a report of its actions in this area. Is that correct?
For those of you who are wondering, this is John Cornyn. John Cornyn is probably the most powerful Republican senator that exists. He is the senior senator from Texas, making Ted Cruz the junior senator from Texas. John Cornyn, the reason he's the most powerful Republican senator is because he is the purse keeper for the Republican Party's distribution of funds for Senate campaigns. He is basically the treasure chest holder, the war chest key master. He is the blowjob receiving machine of the Republican Party. If you cross John Cornyn, then your campaign does not get financed by the Republican Party. And this is he is terrifying in that regard. Right now he is good. Other times he's not so good. So, but this is good stuff from him.
Senator, that's correct.
And could you describe that for us and what motivated you to undertake that sort of transparency?
Yes. Senator, I believe that in order for people to trust that we're doing a good job, they have to be able to see the results. And we have to be able to break down on a content, on a kind of category by category basis across all the different categories of harm, whether it's terrorist content or child exploitation or incitement of violence or pornography or intellectual property violations, how much of the violating content is on our platforms and how effective our systems are at removing it. And what we hold ourselves accountable towards is getting as high a percent of this harmful content down, addressing it, before real people have to experience it and report it to us themselves. So in categories where we do...
he just called the Google content reviewer or the Facebook content reviewers not real people, just like him. Poor bastards. That's why they sued Facebook for all having post-traumatic stress, probably.
Quite well. For example, in fighting against terrorist content, our AI systems and counterterrorism teams are able to remove 98 or 99% of that harmful content before anyone has to report it to us. In other categories, it's more challenging and we're still making more progress. But I think that as part of a regulatory framework here, it would be good if every company had to issue a transparency report outlining what they're seeing on their platforms and the results and effectiveness of their content moderation systems. So that way,
the Washington Post could make an article about how racist and horrible a particular demographic that uses a particular product is. Mark Zuckerberg right now is surreptitiously laying out ways to destroy his competition through government-enforced regulation. He just did it. It was subtle. Did you catch it? Because it doesn't sound the way that it doesn't sound with the truth when he says it. When he says it, it sounds simple. Oh, it should be great. Every company should be forced to have a transparency report. All right. Well, let's say you have lower standards of content moderation because you're more free speech. So then all of your content moderation looks really bad, right? It looks like you're only removing the worst stuff, but then you're removing the worst stuff. And that's what fills your report. And then Washington Post or whatever goes out and writes an article about how everything removed was calling for the, murder of Ben Shapiro and the severing of Abby Shapiro's feet so that they can make casts of them and sell them to people online or whatever. So everything is now an anti-Semitic hate crime. Now everybody who uses your platform is anti-Semitic. Therefore, Washington Post goes out and destroys you, like they're trying to do to DLive right now. And I don't even like DLive, but they're trying to do it. That's what they'll do with a transparency report of content moderation, by the way. That's the rub there. Facebook knows that Facebook will not be destroyed by the Washington Post. A transparency report doesn't hurt Facebook. It costs them nothing to put it together because they're huge as a percentage. But what about, like Kiwi Farms, where Null would have to put that together by himself? And the Jannies on Kiwi Farms are their own individual islands of autism. Like there's no real predictability. It's by thread. The moderators are volunteers who aren't really accountable to anything. And they determine, based on their whimsy and specific thread rules, what to do. How do you make a report of that? Plus, can you imagine the transparency report from Kiwi Farms for what was removed? Oh my God, it'd be fucking hilarious, but it'd be awful too. Benjamin Meyer says, to add, we also have many talking about personal credit scores. Your legal thoughts would be loved, sir, as mine are more higher velocity than others. You mean like social credit? Social credit's a terrifying system and shouldn't exist.
The people who are responsible for holding all of us accountable, whether it's journalists, Congress, academics, could have an apples to apples
Academics rise up.
Comparison about how all the different companies are doing.
It'll be a race to virtue. Oh God, he's just saying it. He's just saying it.
And potentially, as part of a law, require that companies even maintain a certain level of effectiveness.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Otherwise,
Mr.
what?
Dorsey, when
the government takes them over?
When Twitter decided to take down the New York Post story on Hunter Biden's laptop, did you do that under your terms of service, or did you do it under some other claim of authority?
Uh-oh. I bet Cornyn read the terms of service in anticipation of this.
We did it under our terms of service, which, as you know, everyone agrees to when they sign up for Twitter.
I don't think they agree to it at all, actually, Jack. I bet almost no one reads it.
And this was a policy around distribution of hacked materials. We did not want Twitter to be a distribution point for hacked materials.
Well, you do realize that by taking down that story, you probably gave it more prominence and more visibility than it ever would have gotten had you left it alone.
Maybe.
We realize that, and we recognize it as a mistake that we made, both in terms of the intention of the policy and also the enforcement action of not allowing people to share it publicly or privately, which is why we corrected it within 24 hours.
You should have corrected it because it wasn't hacked. It wasn't hacked in any way. There's no hacking involved.
And Mr. Dorsey, why isn't Justice Brandeis's formulation in Whitney versus California, why shouldn't that apply to the internet platforms like yours? In other words, the cure for bad speech is not censorship, it's more speech. Why wouldn't that principle apply?
There are two fucking billionaires on the phone, and you notice the mic's echoing to the two billionaires cannot get appropriate non-echoing mics. This is embarrassing.
To Twitter.
I think it does apply. All of our policies are focused on encouraging more speech. What we saw,
not true,
and what the market told us was that people would not put up with abuse, harassment, and misleading information that would cause offline harm. And they would leave our service because of it. So our intention is to create clear policy, clear enforcement that enables people to feel that they can express themselves on our service and ultimately trust it.
So it was a business decision.
It was a business decision.
Put headphones in, you Philistine.
Like,
Senator Feinstein.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman.
Oh my God! If Dick Blumenthal is 18,000 years old, here's his great-grandmother, Dianne Feinstein. I'm sure we're about to get a dose of wisdom, along with all the sloughed-off serpent skin from this haggard old cunt.
Mr. Dorsey, in recent hearings before the Senate Commerce Committee, you said, I think, that Twitter has a policy against misinformation relating to civic integrity. President Trump and his allies have tweeted hundreds of false claims about the 2020 election. Trump has falsely claimed victory and alleged widespread voter fraud. So here's the question. Does misinformation about the results of an election and voter fraud relate to civic integrity? Why or why not?
Yes, it does, and we.
No, it literally does not, by the way. People can accuse, they can have an opinion about a vote being fraudulent. They can have an opinion about a system failure. That's okay. They can have wrong opinions and right opinions about it, and there's no civic duty to correct that. That is ridiculous.
Label those tweets when the election has not been called yet, or multiple sources have.
Oh, the election has not been called yet. Has it, Jack? Really? Oh, thank you. Somebody tell everyone on Twitter that Jack has said that the election hasn't been called yet. Somebody tell everybody, because I'm pretty sure that Twitter doesn't think that that's true, based on, Twitter's content moderation. Bad Vibe says, yes, we are leaving Twitter because you abused your rules to silence a story that's important. You banned individuals for harmless jokes and banned individuals for alerting you to cheese pizza. Get bent.
Have called it differently.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Did you say you have been able to tweet?
No, we have labeled the tweets that would indicate a different result in the election, called by multiple sources.
I see. At what point was that done?
Throughout the period, October 11th to up till today.
So when the tweet was initially came in, how long was it before you, quote, updated it?
She has no idea what Twitter even is.
We put a label on it pointing to the broader conversation. Our goal is to connect people with more information around
No, your goal is to connect people with a certain view on information. It's not a broader conversation. It's a fucking narrow conversation about what you have chosen is the correct information. But Dianne Feinstein does not know what Twitter even is. Like, she should just get her aide to ask the questions, the aide that does the tweeting for her. Random Blaze says you're going to see a lot of the drats say that Trump is lying and that the Republicans are lying about the election. One also says that the media called the election knowing that the media does not.
What's happening with the election, and that was that occurred anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, but as quickly as we can.
Thank you. Is 30 minutes the maximum time?
What is your service level agreement on censorship? I need to know, because if you reach 31 minutes, I need to call someone.
I don't know. We can get you that information.
Would
We'll
you? I'm interested in this.
You are not.
Does misinformation about the results of an election and voter fraud relate to civic integrity? Why or why not?
They just answered.
Yes, it does, and we also label those tweets that would indicate whether fraud was happening. And again, we connect those to larger conversations on the platform. So we want to provide context here. That is our goal: providing more context, providing more information.
Okay, now a specific question.
But it doesn't function in that way, does it? It doesn't function as providing context. It functions as saying that the tweet in question is incorrect, and you can find the correct sources here where we tell you.
And I'm not sure actually what the answer to this should be, but
you don't know what
on
the
November
question is,
7th,
you dumb old hag.
President Trump tweeted, and I quote, "I won this election by a lot," end quote. Obviously, that's not true. President Trump lost the election. The warning label that Twitter has applied to the tweet says, and I quote, "Official sources may not have called the race when this was tweeted," end quote. Do you believe that label goes far enough to prevent the tweet's harms when the tweet is still visible and not accurate?
To Jack's credit, that's actually an accurate statement. That it hasn't been called at the time that that tweet came out. Still hasn't been called, actually. Won't be called until, January or whatever, when the electoral votes are in. But to Jack's credit, that label is actually correct. It's just they're not applying that to Biden's tweets, so it's ridiculous. But listen to her. They're just begging for censorship of their opponents.
I do, because it's not just the surface level label. It points to a collection of news articles, of information and conversation that gives you an expansion on what's happening with the election.
I guess, you see, my concerns are that these tweets arouse people.
Ooh, well, hold on. Let me go over to Trump's timeline so I can be aroused. Oh my God. Dianne Feinstein is concerned about arousal, as she hasn't aroused anyone since 1807.
And it seems to me that the entity that runs this operation ought to have an understanding that when there is a major situation, that the tweets can play a unique role in either reassuring or stirring people up to unacceptable levels. Could you comment on that?
Unacceptable levels of stirring up.
Well, I agree in spirit. I mean, our policy is focused on misleading information around the election and the civic process to provide greater context, to provide additive information so that people can make decisions around what's happening within the election. And that is 3 phases. That's the run up to the election, that's election day, and also the phase we're in right now, post-election. So our policies and enforcement
known in
are
Asia as
focused on
post-election,
providing more information,
which is
more
what Dianne
context to people in
Feinstein
those
is
3
curious
phases.
about.
Well, let me give you a specific. On November 7, President Trump tweeted this: "I won this election by a lot." And
She's Alzheimer's-ing right now. She doesn't remember that she just asked about this tweet. Not at all. By the way, while I have your attention for just a moment, please go ahead and smash that like button and make sure you are still subscribed. I have a duty to remind you to be subscribed because YouTube is doing the fun thing where it is removing subscribers on a nightly basis, including people. Usually it's a cleanup effort of accounts that get yeeted for their mean, awful comments or whatever. But it actually does hit regular viewers of the show as well. So please make sure you are still subscribed at the end of every live stream or during every live stream or whatever it is, so that you get that notification bell. And also, yeah, please hit like. It really does help. I hate asking for it because it's such a stupid gay thing, and I hate it. But please go ahead and hit it.
Quote, that's obviously not true. President Trump lost the election. The warning label that Twitter has applied to the tweet says, and I quote, official sources may not have called the race when this was tweeted, end quote. Now, here's the question. Does that label do enough to prevent the tweet's harms when the tweet is still visible and is not accurate?
If Ayn Rand were alive today, she would answer this the only appropriate way that you can answer this. I disagree with your premise. It is not our job to make sure a tweet is not harmful. There's no duty that Twitter has to prevent a harmful tweet. In fact, if we're talking about Section 230, Twitter is immunized from policing harmful content or a failure to police harmful content. That's the actual point of Section 230. This bag of bones and dust doesn't understand that 230 exists in case companies are unable to effectively police harm in whatever manifestation that may take. Bad Vibe says, this is a woman that doesn't understand firearms and has spread false information. She needs to not be allowed in Congress or any committee.
I believe it's really important that we show people a broader context, and that is the intention of the label. It is not just text below a tweet. It is a link to connect to a much larger conversation and news articles across the spectrum.
Well, what would have to happen before the situation would warrant a stronger response?
Well, we did have stronger responses during Election Day and the week after, where we did put an interstitial, meaning that you had to click through to see the content of the tweet. And
on Election Day, they're out in the open saying it. On Election Day, they took heightened censorship. They don't even lie anymore. They don't need to.
It limited spread for anything that went against our civic integrity.
Limited spread. You had to have an interstitial, a click-through, which limited the spread. All of Trump's tweets around Election Day had that interstitial and limited the spread. All of them. They blatantly censored one side of the political equation.
Policy, including premature calls to election results.
Well, let me give you one more. On November 12, President Trump tweeted a conspiracy theory that 2.7 million votes for him were deleted. The warning label that Twitter has applied to that tweet said, quote, this claim about election fraud is disputed. Now, here's the question, and I think it is a tough issue. Do you believe this label does enough?
Lady, the only thing you think is a tough issue is getting your dentures to chew through mashed potatoes. Fuck off. Go die. Please, peacefully, somewhere else. Get out of Congress. Go spend your last days with your family. Avoid COVID and get off the Senate.
To prevent the tweet's harms. When the tweet is still visible, it's a highly emotional situation, but the tweet has no factual basis.
But the tweet has a link to more information, to more conversation and more context that informs the situation, what's happening. So I do believe that connecting people to the larger conversation, giving them more context, is the right path here.
But they have to move to solicit that contact, right? It's not contained as an addendum to the original tweet.
Do you know what that would look like, you dummy?
The label is an addendum to the original tweet, and if you tap on it or click it, you will go to an expansion of the information.
I see.
Do you understand, Feinstein, how to click something? Watch I'm going to click Feinstein's nose in the way that someone her age would click it. Click.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Zuckerberg? Is he?
Yes, you may, if you,
Thank you.
if that'd be okay.
Mr. Zuckerberg, at the recent hearing before the Senate Commerce Committee, you said that Facebook has a, quote, policy in place that prevents any candidate,
Can I ask a
end
question
quote,
to Mr.
from,
Zuckerberg?
quote, trying to delegitimize the result of the election, end quote. But the hashtags steal the vote and voter fraud garnered more than 300,000 interactions on your platform. Doesn't
that terrify you, Miss Feinstein? That people realize and see what is happening in this country? That they see it. They see it. Even doom-pilling assholes like me. We can see the fraud happening. We can see it. My only thing is I'm saying that the Republicans are so terribly executing the counteroffensive that they won't be able to overcome it. But we all see it. That is what scares you. We can see what you're doing. Ah!
in the hours after Mr. Trump falsely declared victory. So here's the question. Do you believe Facebook did enough to prevent Trump's efforts to delegitimize the election result? If so, why have you reached that conclusion?
Facebook.ai has stopped responding. Holy shit.
Senator, I believe that we've taken some very significant steps in this area, not just the adding additional context to specific posts and making it so that when people search for different hashtags, we show additional information. But we also took the unprecedented step of putting the Voter Information Center at the top of Facebook and Instagram for everyone in the U.S. that showed them reliable information.
Yeah, you did, and I hated it. It takes up like this much screen space. Stop.
Information about the election, including partnering with organizations like Reuters and the National Election Pool to show them accurate information about the results of the election. So all taken together, I think that we really went quite far in terms of helping to distribute reliable and accurate information about what was going on during this election.
Okay, let me give you one more along this line. After President Trump falsely claimed that the election was being stolen, a group called Stop the Steal was started on Facebook.
Yes.
It grew to more than 300,000 users in less than a day, making it one of the fastest growing groups, I understand, in Facebook history.
Uh-oh.
You shut the group down, but substantial damage already had been done. Trump supporters, some of them armed with assault weapons, held Stop the Steal rallies outside election offices.
Some of them armed with assault rifles.
In Philadelphia, 2 armed supporters who had traveled from Virginia were arrested on their way to the city's vote counting center. Here's the question, and this is a tough one.
What were they arrested for?
What are your concerns about the spread of misinformation, no matter how innocent it is, or it is not innocent, like Trump's claims about the election, that they may incite violence?
Senator, I'm very worried about about this, especially any
Liar. Not shutting down Antifa, not shutting down Black Lives Matter. You want misinformation that leads to literal riots and death and violence and destruction? Antifa and Black Lives Matters are kings of misinformation leading to the literal burning of cities. Look at his soulless fucking face. Oh my God, it's terrifying.
misinformation or
His head is
content
shaped like
that
a
could incite
Q-tip.
violence. And during such a volatile period like this, one of our top priorities is making sure that people don't use our platform to organize any violence or civil unrest. And that was the basis under which we took that group because there were a number of members who were posting potentially violent or encouraging violent comments that violated our policies. We also have broader policies in place around trying to slow the spread of misinformation more broadly, even when it's not going to lead to some kind of violence or imminent harm. And that's why we've created this independent fact-checking program where we work with more than 80 partners around the world to help do fact-checking, because people in our community have told us they don't want to see misinformation, but they also don't want us to be deciding what is true and false. So we've taken the step of building this program, which I believe is more sophisticated than what anyone else in our industry has. So I'm very focused on these issues.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, because I'm really struck by it, that people armed with assault weapons as a product of a tweet could rally outside.
Oh, thank God it was from a tweet. So why does Zuckerberg even care? Twitter's his opponent. He doesn't need to worry about it.
An election office, and I think it's really a serious issue that needs to be considered. And there need to be, once you signal that and people respond to it, it has to be in some way abated or some way pointed out or restructured on the internet itself.
No, just take away Section 230's limitation on liability for incitement. There you go. There you go. Now Facebook and Twitter are liable for the incitement that happens on their platform. There. Done. Then you can bring criminal charges against them for incitement and people can sue them. Except you don't want that. You don't want that at all.
Can you respond to that?
Senator Feinstein,
And concerns?
I hate to, we're almost double the time. Could we?
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're going to have a vote come up, and I
It's because you talk way too slow, you old bag.
apologize. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to note that
Uh-oh.
as far as the president's arguments about the
Mike Lee in the house? Catherine Rule, I wrote about Mark Zuckerberg's death in the Dick Show Facebook, the Dick Show Facebook group, in the Dick Show Facebook group years ago, and now that Facebook group has been deleted. So unfortunately, the AI found out that I knew the truth.
election and how they turned out, inciting violence. I'd like to point out here that the only violence that I'm aware of has occurred in connection with Antifa.
Yes! Thank you, Mike. By the way, I'm only pausing it to point out that you guys keep making fun of my hairline. Make sure you rip Mike Lee apart for his. Bad Vibe says, liar to Feinstein. You still allow Antifa, or to Zuckerberg. You still allow Antifa and BLM to utilize the platform.
Antifa's response to pro-Trump peaceful rally attenders. So I don't quite understand that. Maybe we'll have a chance to dwell on that more in a minute. But first, I want to talk a little bit about federal law, existing federal law, and what it requires. Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act prohibits businesses from engaging in unfair or deceptive trade practices.
Oh, shit.
Compliance with this particular law requires that there be some consistency between what a company represents as their practices and their products and what they actually are. In other words, you can't sell one thing and provide another under the guise of providing something different than what's being sold. Both Twitter and Facebook represent and have represented for years to their users, their customers, that they take a neutral approach to election content moderation. However, as we've heard today, and as we will continue to hear today and into the foreseeable future, there are instances in which your platforms are taking a very distinctively partisan approach, and not a neutral one, to election-related content moderation. For example, just days before the election, Twitter suspended the account of Mark Morgan. Now, Mark Morgan is the commissioner of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Office. And they suspended Commissioner Morgan's Twitter account, specifically for a tweet celebrating the excess of the U.S. southern border wall.
The success, not the excess, I think. Maybe it was a very big wall that was bigger than necessary, but I think it means the success.
Apparently, Commissioner Morgan's tweet, his comments about the border wall, violated Twitter platform rules governing what it calls hateful conduct. Now, I've read the offending post, and the offending post from Commissioner Mark Morgan reads as follows. At CBP and the Army Corps of Engineers,
CBP is Customs and Border Patrol. Just
continue to build new wall every day. Every mile helps us stop gang members, murderers, sexual predators, and drugs from entering our country. It's a fact. Walls work. Period. Close quote. Mr. Dorsey.
Holy shit, they banned him for that? I thought he said something like, we gotta toss those Mexicans back over the wall or something crazy, right? They banned him they banned his account for that?
Can you tell me, in one sentence, what exactly is hateful about Commissioner Morgan's tweet that I just read?
Well, we evaluated this tweet again, and we found that we were wrong. That was a mistake, and it was due.
Oh, okay. You were wrong, though. You're just wrong. It's fine. We evaluated it. We found out we were wrong.
To the fact that we had heightened awareness around government accounts during this time. So that was a mistake. Okay. We reverted it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to get back to more of that in a minute and get back to the fact that, I understand.
We caught that mistake. Did you? Or was it the fact that basically Trump like threatened to just nationalize Twitter or whatever?
I understand that mistakes happen. But what we're going to see today is that mistakes happen a whole lot more, almost entirely on one side of the political aisle rather than the other. Now, Commissioner Morgan's statement in that tweet, as was initially taken down, is factual. There's nothing remotely hateful about it, and yet it was taken down. Now, on October 15th, Facebook relied on a third-party fact-checker's assessment.
Kick-ass attorney.
To ban 2 advertisements from Facebook.
I believe he's in it.
For, quote, partly false information. Now, both of these advertisements were factual in nature, and they revealed Joe Biden's and Kamala Harris's views on late-term abortion. Joe Biden has stated that he won't accept any restrictions on abortion, and Senator Harris's views are such that she voted against requiring care for a child born alive during a botched abortion. The very next day, the third-party fact-checker issued a statement retracting the assessment and retracting it as erroneous. However, it stunningly took Facebook almost 2 more weeks until October 29th, when voting had already started in many jurisdictions, to lift the ban on these legitimate ads. Ads that the fact-checker had already declared a couple weeks earlier were erroneously taken down. So, Mr.
Oops. Just erroneously taken down factual statements because they were in ads. It's fine. It's fine.
Mr. Zuckerberg, why on earth did it take Facebook 2 weeks to correct this error?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the details of us re-enabling that ad, so I can follow up with you after. It's possible that this was just a mistake or delay, and unfortunately, when we handle millions or billions of pieces of content a day, while we strive to do as well as
You notice this? They could prioritize election shit all day, and he's going to conflate it with millions or billions of pieces of content. Yet these were ads that were around the election. It's a very limited subset of content that he's talking about. But we handle millions or billions of pieces of content a day. But you don't handle millions or billions of ads related to the election in the election season. You handle a limited amount of those.
as possible and be as precise as possible. We will make some mistakes.
Thank you. I appreciate your
I can't wait
acknowledgement
for his
of the fact
eyes
there
to
are
blink
mistakes.
sideways.
As I've noted previously, those mistakes sure happen a whole lot more on one side of the political spectrum than the other. Now, this is understandable. We're humans, but it's also understandable why this might occur. Maybe some of it has to do with your employees. 92.83% of Facebook employees who donated to federal candidates gave to Democrats. At Twitter, it's even more stark than that, as if it could get much more stark. 99.3% of Twitter employees who donated to federal candidates gave to Democrats.
99.3, y'all. 99.3.
And so these mistakes, they may be mistakes, but they're mistakes that rhyme. They may not repeat themselves, but they rhyme. And the consistent theme happens to be Republicans, conservatives, and pro-life activists. Now, I'd like to ask both of you, is there a list of every user or every content creator who has been deplatformed or had their contents reach altered or have had some other adverse action taken by either Facebook or Twitter altered? Is there some list that identifies each user for which that has happened? Mr. Zuckerberg, let's hear from you. Just a yes or no question. Does such a list exist?
Senator, I'm not aware of anything like that existing.
Mr. Dorsey, how about you?
Not exactly sure what you're asking, but
Yeah.
we certainly.
Simple question. Do you have a list of people, your users or content creators, who have had some adverse action taken against them, either being deplatformed or having their reach altered or something because of the content of their posts?
Well, certainly whenever we take an action, it's recorded somewhere in a database, but I'm not sure it's your intent.
No, that's helpful. So what I'm hearing from both of you is that while there may not be an actual list, and I'd like you both to check to see if such a list exists, but even if there isn't, there is a de facto list because you have within your databases records of occasions when this has occurred. And so I'd like to ask both of you, if such a list exists, please send it to me. I'd like to see it. If such a list does not exist, you certainly do have the data necessary in order to generate some, and I request as a member of this committee that you generate such a list and provide it to me. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Senator Graham, the chairman of the committee, has stepped out momentarily. I've been directed to recess the hearing momentarily so that we can go.
Oh, this is a good
and
stopping
vote,
point.
And then we will pick up back here in just a few minutes. I would like to, as long as I have the gavel momentarily, I'm going to ask one more question before I leave to go.
Attaboy,
vote, and then
Mike.
we'll recess the hearing after this
And
question.
could I ask when we're coming back? I've been waiting to ask questions
Yeah.
for an hour now.
Yeah, we'll be coming back as soon as Senator Graham returns. He left to vote in just a moment ago. He'll be back. Mr. Zuckerberg, in September, Facebook tagged an ad run by the American Principles Project in Michigan that criticized Joe Biden and criticized Senator Gary Peters. And the ad was tagged because it was, quote unquote, missing context. Now, the next day, the ad was shut down entirely by Facebook. Facebook relied on a supposed fact check from PolitiFact which is a nice way for you to avoid taking accountability for the problem, except that the facts check in question literally said that the ad, quote, makes, quote, predictions we can't fact check. Apparently this had to do with lacking context. So when did lacking context become a new standard for political ads? I mean, all political ads, all ads in general, but certainly all political ads lack context. Ben Sass just finished a resounding victory in Nebraska. And I haven't seen his TV ads, but I'm sure they're brilliant. This guy's made for television. He's with or without the beard. And I'm sure his ads didn't say, Ben Sass, great senator, but not that great of a hockey player. Or there is always context that is lacked out, that is lacking, left out in any advertisement. So what does that mean? And have you applied the missing context label to any Democratic ads, a single one that you can identify?
Senator, I'm not familiar with that specific standard, but as kind of a background on the fact-checking program, the basis of this is that we have heard resoundingly from our community that people do not want to see misinformation and believe that it is a problem. But people also believe that they do not want Facebook to be the arbiter of truth in deciding everything that is true and false. And
it's easy to not see misinformation. Just close your eyes. Just block the person. Just mute the fucking thread, whatever it is.
For what it's worth, I strongly agree with that. And I do not think it is the right thing for us to assume that role.
But you do.
So within those bounds, we've tried to create a fact-checking program that works with independent third parties who have been accredited by the Poynter Institute for Journalism, which I think is widely respected.
No.
And we give those fact checkers the latitude to determine whether ads or other content on our service is accurate. And if not, we apply some demotions or we prevent them from being run as ads. I can follow up in more detail afterwards on the specifics of your questions, since I'm not as familiar with them right now.
I would appreciate that very much if you'd be willing to do that.
You know what I hate about every Senate hearing is, oh, I will follow up later, and then we never hear about the follow-up.
Because it's not only inconsistent with logic and with what the standards that apply in every other advertising context that I'm familiar with. It's also inconsistent with what Facebook itself does. Just to give you some context for that, while we're talking about missing context, I recently posted something about the election on Facebook. And my Facebook post was almost immediately tagged with the following, quote, election officials say that voter fraud, which is historically rare, has not affected the outcome in this election.
Which they can't
confirmed
possibly
that
know.
Mail-in voting was conducted in accordance with state voting rules, close quote.
Which they
I find this
also
a little
can't know.
disturbing. Tag to me sounds a whole lot more like state-run media announcing the party line rather than a neutral company, as it purports to be, running an open online forum. This kind of editorializing insulates people from the truth, and it insinuates that anyone concerned about voter fraud must be crazy. It also states it as if it were an irrefutable, neutral, objective fact. Now, maybe these kinds of concerns are out of the mainstream in Palo Alto, but they're not out of the mainstream with the rest of America. And I have to reiterate, I hope this kind of manipulation wasn't intentional, but it's getting harder and harder for me to accept the premise that it could be anything but intentional. And if it was intentional, it's yet more evidence that Facebook's actions surrounding this election are incongruent with the promises that you've made to your own users.
Incongruent.
And that's a problem. consistent with the directions that have been given by Chairman Graham, we're now going to recess. I predict we'll be in recess for no more than 10 or 15 minutes until Chairman Graham returns.
I've been waiting for an hour to ask a question about the Facebook. How do I recover my password that my great-grandson set up? I really want to look at pictures of my children.
All right, we're going to pick up tomorrow. We're going to pick up tomorrow on the rest of this. I actually enjoy doing these, even though they're infuriating. For tomorrow, I will skip through the recess and we'll get back to it. I think Ted Cruz comes in shortly after the recess. We will be going to Twitch for a watch party tonight. We will start with Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren. So, we will be doing that. I hope if you have not been entertained by this, that you will be entertained by that. That'll be fun. I do need to go through the super chats here. There's something I wanted to do. Oh, I got an email from Liam Gray. This is a weird short thing for you Comicsgate friends out there or comics followers. I got an email from Liam. He was very concerned that someone impersonating him sends justice chats through Streamlabs, where you get to make your name up on the fly. Right? Like on YouTube, your name shows up with the super chat thing. It's attached to your YouTube account. On Streamlabs, you can make up whatever name you want. And I read a chat the other day that I don't remember specifically what it was, but usually they're a pretty obvious joke. And I thought I even said maybe that I don't know if that's the real Liam because it seemed kind of ridiculous. But either way, he was concerned that I might be spreading misinformation about him and that people are harassing and abusing him. And certainly I don't want anyone harassed or abused. He asked me to not encourage the false chats to in his name or whatever. I don't know what that means because I don't encourage any chats in any name for anything. But he asked me man to man if I would refrain from encouraging that. So I don't know what other way to do it than to mention that happened. Like I said, I already don't encourage it, but I do. I don't know what he wants me to do. I read every chat that comes in. So if he wants me to change the policy on reading chats, I won't do that. Just because it might not be you or anybody else. I don't know. I don't care. People pay to have their chat read, and that's what I do. That's my commitment to the show, and it's why this next part is going to take, several minutes for me to get through, even though I kind of want to go and do Masters of the Universe on Twitch. I'm going to read all the chats that came in because that's what the fucking show is funded by, and I appreciate every single one, even if other people don't. So, that's how I can deal with it to the best of my ability. I don't know. I guess I got to just say something about it as a courtesy. So, that's that. Let's go through these chats and remember, in case you weren't here earlier, please subscribe to my Rekieta Media channel. If you want some more like chill and less doom pill content about nerd stuff and media ridiculousness as well. I don't like framing it in a particular way, but you can think of there will be some of the content about, like stupid news articles and stuff like that, like you might find on other channels, but there will also be just kind of fun content reviewing and exploring escapist things. So, books, movies, games, stuff like that. So do check out the Rekieta Media channel. I'll post it in the, there's a link to it in the chat. Check it out. I am trying to get it over 10,000 subscribers, and I would appreciate y'all's help in doing so. All right. Mario Carter 13 says, "What's up, guys? Welcome to Law Snoozing the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Rekieta of Narcoleptics Unconscious, a small law firm in the middle of REM sleep. We don't have Drexel tonight, but I may black out." Malik Fox, it says, "Can confirm. Used to work phones for Best Buy. We're in the back of the store on phones, at least in Texas. Can't speak for Minnesota, though, but holy shit, that sounds like how customer service goes in Best Buy. We can't do anything about shit. Also, they use contractors already." Yeah, it was not fun. Spineless Coward, that's not Drexel from the show. Drexel, Lord of Simpson Cucks in the chat is not actually Drexel. Yeah, Angry Baneling, I will. I thought it was already in there. Night of Hopex says, "All the really depressing shit," he says, as though these aren't content choices he could make differently if he wanted to. Malik Fox says, "So question I have for lower shark jaw there. How come we're supposed to trust you?" That's Dick Blumenthal. "How come we're supposed to trust you to curate when potentially you could be misinformed? How are you more informed than individuals who actually gather and curate news? How do you know you're not misinformed?" Because he's right. Mr. Schwagen sent me a bunch of TV and projector model numbers. And he says, Sony XBR and LG OLED or IPS are both good TVs. Look for full array backlight or OLED. I was a manager of a TV department for years. That's why I like the Q90. It has the full array backlit, their QLED technology. It's not OLED. It's not the same thing there, but it is a full array. And the Q90 has a 20X or whatever. I don't know if that means anything, but it's supposed to be really good. Wiggly Wiggly Noodle says, $2. Mark Schmuckerberg is an actual real living reptoid. Yeet McGree says, certainly none of us. Lol. Baby Fark McGeezax says, "I found the Streamlabs link. No more YouTube cuts." Hey, awesome. Thank you. Thermobaric Grenade says, "Is anyone actually reading these?" Yes, I read all of them. Thermobaric Grenade says, "Theses, I say, yikes." Oh, yeah, he says, "Is anyone actually reading theses?" Mercenary X says, "If QAnon is a LARP, why are they so dead set and insulting him at every turn?" I don't know. I'm just calling him a LARP because it triggers people. Seriously, the subscription they have is disturbing. For Jack and Mark and all the Democrats at this thing, we should do one thing. Throw them all into a volcano. Every last lying one of them. Long Man says, "You can tell which messages are mine because I'm not actually asking questions or saying anything meaningful. Just writing a bunch of nonsense." F says, "How's it going, Nick?" Hey, good. I heard YouTube takes 45% of Super Chat donations. It's 30%, but close. And I ain't having any of that. Have I bought you a drink yet? I don't know. Have you? Or do you mean through donations? Maybe. I hate long names and irony. Says, "Nick, has anything ever come from a Senate hearing?" Probably. At this point, they just seem like a jerk-off session to get sound bites and to give the senators a talking point to say, "See, I care about your speech." There's no penalty for lying. Why even bother? There's supposed to be a penalty for lying. The problem that Republicans have right now is a Democrat-controlled House. So it doesn't really matter what the Senate wants to do. The House has to be on board. Liam Gray donated and said, "I am gay, lol." I have it on authority. Good authority. That's the real Liam Gray this time. Jeff the Gamer says, "Losing my job on the first of the year. Losing my therapist. Friendships are on the fucking rocks. $100 item came in today and is apparently defective and not sure if it's refundable. Just loss after loss lately. Thank you for the laugh with your Karen story." Hey, buddy, hang in there. Hang in there. Things will turn around. Cryptkeeper666 says, "Will you have Leviathan with Peter Weller this Wednesday or Thursday?" Not tonight, which is Wednesday, but maybe tomorrow. Maybe we could do that tomorrow. That'd be fun. Kiwi Goes Live says, "Rip Jack Dorsey, Zodiac Killer got another one." Rick Nikita says, "Trump lost." Super Iron Bob says, "Stop fighting and let us win." F says, "Bruh." Skeet Neat says, banned from Twitch so I can't watch your watch parties ever again? They didn't even say what I was banned for. I mean, if you're going to ban someone, you need a reason and explain why I was banned. Damn. Oh, that sucks. Bad Vibe says, Nick needs an 80-inch TV so he can see the screen because of his nose. ECV Titan says, Boomer thinks call centers in America. Lol. Rhinosaurus Rex says, Nick, look up John Panett's comedy track called Still Hungry. Whole rant about getting a TV and power strip as well as fighting the warranty guy. Angry Baneling says, I would have sorted it out in 5 minutes, Nick. Sure you would have, Baneling. I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. Robert Levito says, shopping at Best Buy. Well, there's your problem. There's nothing around. I live so far away from anything. It's the one downside of living in the country. Pincalo the Driving Ape says, I just drove 4 hours to BF Nowhere, Ontario to deliver a 43-inch monitor after hours. That's a $250 charge because customer service matters. It's that easy. Pincalo, I would have paid $250 to get my TV on Monday. I tried to buy it from Magnolia rather than Best Buy. I tried to pay them. I said, I will pay you. I will pay you to do it because I know Best Buy will screw it up. But Magnolia is a little bit different and a little bit higher class. I will pay you guys to do it, and they couldn't do it. God, it pisses me off. Vine the Cold One says first world problems. Yes. Luminaire says we're not mad at you for being realistic. We are mad at the law for failing us when we need it the most. Yes, I know. Robert Levito says Nikki Ricaren, attorney at law. Mario Carter 13 says Dems, censor more. Republicans, no, wait, stop, come back. Malik Fox said, no, I mean on Monday this week when it was supposed to come originally. That's what I was talking about with Monday. Tet says, does it bother anyone else how scripted and corporate catchphrasey build back better and peaceful transition of power are? Yes. DCV Titan says, why shouldn't he interrupt it? He didn't get one. I don't know what that means. Blackwing02 says the only change and update to Section 230 that is needed is to actually enforce 230 that's currently in place. I think they need to take out otherwise objectionable from the thing. And there may be a couple other things, but that's the main one. Red Mage 13 says Dorsey just needs a volleyball and to scream, Wilson! Wilson! Winnie the Blue says, learn to host your own internet services. Boomers don't know how to fix this, and big tech wants you dead, your wife violated, and your children enslaved. Make an IRC server to say gamer words freely. It's not about creating a little pocket of internet for yourself, though. And it's not about hosting your own internet services either. For many of us, this is a business. Like for me, this is clearly a business. And the idea that I can't create a competitor. It's impossible for me to do in the current structure. Like if I'm gone, I will be gone. And if you really want to see it, I mean, go look at the Washington Post hit piece on DLive. Go look at those numbers. The Washington Post has put out a hit piece on DLive on extremist channels and how much money they've made. And the biggest ones are like Owen Benjamin, I think. And Owen Benjamin and Nick Fuentes coming in around $60,000 for the year. Killstream at $24,000 for the year. Mark Collette at like $5,000 or something like that. There's some other names I don't recognize. I don't really watch any of those channels. I'll guest on the Killstream from time to time. Happy to do so. But as far as like, I don't know what their content is like. But compare those to YouTube numbers. Those are rookie number. Like those are low numbers on YouTube, and those are the biggest numbers on DLive. That's not a criticism of those channels, by the way. That is not in any way a criticism of those channels or those content creators. That is the reality of the difference between being on YouTube or Twitch and being on a competing platform. There is no comparison. There is no comparison. It's the death knell. It's the death knell. The kill stream at one point was making at least, half of that 24,000 a month on YouTube. And they weren't that big of a channel. Like they're making 10 to 12 grand a month at one point before they got tossed. If they were allowed to be on YouTube right now, they would have probably been making $24,000 a month to grow at the same rate. So, YouTube censorship has a huge impact on businesses. And there isn't a way to create a competitor. You can't do it. You can't. Gerard Garvin says, why is Twitter run by unscuffed Charles Manson? Mario Carter 13 says, Facebook doesn't need AI moderation. It has Zuck. He is the AI moderation. Vokun de Dinok says, a literal lizard man. Yep. DCV Titan. DCV Titan says, yeah, Xeno Knight, they are attacking DLive. It's next on the list. They actually pointed out that the CEO of DLive donated a whole $90 to one of the extremist channels. Woo! Very, very dangerous. DZV Titan says, if they block groups of interfering actors, why didn't they block Facebook? Answer that, Zuckerberg. Archimedes says, Rekieta Law, they donated to every district where the votes are off. That was the question about, Zuckerberg said he and his wife donated $400 million to election efforts. That's how much money Zuckerberg has, by the way. He can give away $400 million in one election cycle to election centers. I asked where'd they donate to. Mr. Schwagen says, get second-year engineers under oath. Ask them about what can be done with internal tools. CEOs aren't going to say much. Yes, that's what they need to do. Absolutely. Angry Baneling says, here's my microscopic investment in your new mic. Hey, thank you. Cal Clay says, Uncle Joe hosted last night. Jeez, made me sleepy. Spooky Pen says, Nick, look into a Motu M2 or M4 to replace your 2i2. Cal Clay says, Nick, you heard Bungie's Go Black campaign? I watched Az's video on it. I love that guy, by the way. Az is great. Heel versus Babyface. Make sure you check him out if you haven't. I love when he goes, that was just the way he did it was beautiful. It was so British. Automata says, it would be good if every company had to take steps that we now take because we know some of our competitors couldn't afford it. Exactly. Cal Clay says, Zuckerberg's face is triggering my Turing sense. Scott McKnight, welcome to lawyer status on the channel. Thank you. Tet says, why is someone who predates television, who predates stereo sound, chiming in on tech at all? No idea. Derek Dobish says, what are the consequences of being rude, snarky, or confrontational to these idiotic senators if you've been called into a hearing? Nothing. There is no consequence. Liam the Super Gay says, I'm really gay. So, okay. Liam the Super Gay says, I'm really gay. But no, Derek, there are no consequences to being rude to the senators. I would absolutely be an abysmal, miserable asshole to all of them. No one important says, update. My sister got super offended. I voted for Trump again and said, well, he said this and that, and if you vote for him, you're a dumb cystophobe. What's a cystophobe? No one important says, long story short, she is 21 and knows everything. Oh, they always do. I would humbly advocate peace within your household and with your immediate family, especially over election stuff. At the end of the day, your relationship with your family, to me, is always more important than a political opinion. And I don't argue with family members over politics. I try not to even discuss it. I don't want to. I say, you know what? I haven't been following. Whatever their specific thing is, I haven't really been watching that. I'm not concerned about it. I don't want to deal with that. I value my relationships with them too much. Tenchi3 sent me a pair giving me coffee, I think, or blood. I can't tell. No one important says, press 1 if you think woke is good. Thank you. Death Trout says, every time I hear the name Magnolia, I think of that douchey couple here in Waco. Seriously, Chip and Joe suck. Andrew War Snowboard says, pray for me. My radical feminist boss seems to be at her wit's end that I'm still with the company. Seems to be coming to a head. It's not pretty. Oh, no. Oh, no. Bad Vibe says, I think DLive and Parler and Rumble should create a co-op with Indiegogo. Indiegogo is just as woke as the rest of them. Someone asked, what can DLive do legally? Almost nothing. Almost nothing at all. Kermit the Frog says, fuck you, Zuckerberg. I'll put you in the camel clutch. I'll break your back, make you humble, and fuck your ass. Damn it, Kermit. All right, guys. There we go. That's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back tomorrow. We'll try and get through the rest of the hearing. I know it looks like we've got a lot to go, but there's a pretty long recess in there. And I think we actually made it through quite a bit of the hearing itself. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I'll play the outro. Dominic P says, today is my 22nd birthday. Happy birthday, Dominic, in Lemoyne voice. Happy birthday to you. You are now 22. Happy birthday to you. And I probably won't get another, but I hope that you do. Also love the show. Great content. Hey, happy birthday, Dominic. Enjoy it. Have a good one, buddy. Mario Carter 13 says, Nick thought woke was bad last night. Yes. Very, very true. All right, guys. Catch you over on twitch.tv/Rekieta Law. Also almost up to 10,000 Twitch followers. So come follow me over there. Enjoy a watch party or some video gaming. It's fun times. We'll catch you all there very soon. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an ardbeg, a bow, more of Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass glass for the tea. Post on Twitter as we hear lost painting tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the wrong better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now.